Good Monday morning, everybody. It is the end of June, and what is up with the sky?
Weird.
I walked out today,
and
I was kind of scared.
It looks less cool now. Where'd the sun go?
I was kind of taken aback.
Yeah.
It was a very weird sunrise. It was a sunrise that looked like a sunset.
Well, it outside. Why do we have the shade down?
No. The shade's not
All of a
down.
sudden, it
It's
got
just
really dark in Omaha. So
There was sun and dark, and now it's just dark.
look, when I left the house, the sky looked like after forest fires. That's what your sky looks like in the morning.
Okay.
That's what it looked like. It was beautiful.
Now,
while it is,
I have no clue.
it got dark quick here.
Everyone back to bed.
It looks like February.
us.
Hold
right
on
now.
here. We have.
Are you concerned?
Am I concerned? No.
Okay.
Are you?
I don't know. Maybe aliens are landing. I have no clue. It got really dark really quickly.
Very metaphorically there.
All right.
Very.
All right. Well,
Maybe
so
it's
welcome.
a bad omen.
Wait.
Welcome to the end of June. It's almost halftime of 2025.
That is crazy to think about. But that means that we are just a couple steps closer to football.
This is
That's
true.
That's kind of where I was
No,
at.
yeah.
Yesterday was very much a man. I could use Sunday night football right now. I would kill.
Oh, you
this-
had Sunday night football.
what?
I
Toronto and Ottawa.
oh my.
CFL.
So you spend a lot of time on the weekend, like now when you're 9 Saturdays away,
Yeah.
thinking about college football and thinking
Mhm.
about all the scenarios and what it'll look like, and on and on and on. Yes. So CFL football on Sunday night. So I got my fix by watching Toronto and Ottawa and seeing a 105-yard blocked field goal return for a Rouge.
Ooh.
Oh,
Gotta love
a
it.
Rouge?
A Rouge.
Rouge.
Surprised you don't know what a Rouge is.
You don't know what a Rouge is?
I've never watched the CFL.
That's actually surprising.
I've never.
You're a man
I've-
of all
I've-
sports.
You know what? I've watched one Canadian football game, and that was when Johnny Manziel made his debut. I don't know who he was playing for, but it was
Played in
also
Montreal.
It was
Think
all.
so.
It was on the same day. Was he an Alouette?
I believe he was an Alouette.
Wasn't he? Well, I only know about the
For a minute,
Alouettes because of Mark Trestman.
Doug Flutie played
Um,
for Calgary.
Well, I only
was
watched that
good.
game, and that game also was on the same day as the Hall of Fame game. I think Jacksonville was playing Chicago that day. It might have been Trubisky's year. Anyway, I've only ever
No
watched
wonder you're watching
one
the CFL.
one CFL game, and that was it. I was watching. I'm in McMovie mode right now.
Whoa.
I watched a movie last night. I watched Dune. It was great. It was a really good movie. I'll probably watch Dune 2 tonight. I'm like, this is when I get my movies out of the way, is what I've realized
That's
in
fair.
my adulting life. I
We
don't think I'll have too much time to get it off during the sports season. So we're gonna get cultured. We're gonna get ready.
July's movie month.
When you guys make these references, I'm gonna get more of them.
All right.
That's the goal. That's my goal.
Ah.
I got to listen. My goal is to
Aye.
listen to more music and more movies. And then we'll hit football season and I'll be back to being a sport nomad and just watching sports. But for the next 6 weeks, we're McMovie mode.
All
So I
right.
can't wait.
All right.
doing
Like
two
one,
tonight.
like one a day or 2 a day?
We're going to do one a day.
Okay. So get about two. What's a movie running about now? About 2:15,
Yeah.
2:30?
I don't do movies over 2.5
F1 ran
hours.
2:30.
That's perfect. 2.5 hours is the perfect time for a movie. Unless you're watching a comedy, then 90 minutes.
Then they should have an intermission so everybody can go to the bathroom that has a small bladder.
Get a little older.
Go to a musical. Musicals are great for that. I love a good
A little bit
intermission.
different from going to Exarban Village or Exarban Cinema compared to like going to the Holland.
I have to go to a musical out here. I got to be more cultured with Omaha. You went to the.
You hate Omaha.
I don't
that's
hate
clear.
Omaha.
That's why
I
you haven't
don't.
gone.
I don't hate Omaha. I just haven't really been looking around and been like, oh, I want to buy tickets to a musical.
Yeah, I don't
Wait,
think
musicals?
I don't think of a musical like when I went and saw Michael Jackson a couple of weeks ago.
Sure,
It's not the same as when I went and saw F1.
but
Okay.
you want an intermission like it's a musical.
The only
This is
intermission
Michael
hey,
Jackson, the
only,
singer, not the former
I think-
Browns receiver.
No, it was great at the Orpheum. Oh, it was fantastic. The actor that played Michael Jackson, the older Michael Jackson, because they had a
Sure.
younger Michael Jackson. The older Michael Jackson was spot on. The voice, all the moves. It was a fantastic musical. But the only movie I've ever been to that had an intermission, because we went on a field trip when I was going to St. Pius X, was Gandhi.
Oh,
Ah, okay.
Yeah, 'cause
I
it was
didn't-
like
That's a long
4
movie.
hours.
Damn.
I didn't know that movies had intermissions.
That one
I've
did
I've never done
because it was so long.
Yeah, you'd lose
But there's
the kids.
no way. Hey, there's no way today. There's no way you can get away with making a 3-hour movie today.
Well, Christopher Nolan is pretty good at it. He might be the only man.
205,
in the world.
210 is the wheelhouse for movies these days. Our attention span, even great movies
Mhm.
that
Oh.
that capture you and hold you the entire time. 205, 210. You're like, okay.
Getting hungry now.
You don't need to make movies longer than they need to be.
You and I clearly aren't movie critics, but Oppenheimer, great movie. Don't want to watch it again. 3 hours. Too long for me. Too long sitting down. And also, too, when I watch movies at home, I get distracted. I'm on my phone. I'm looking through Twitter. I'm looking through the news.
This is why some of these have to be seen
We're through
at the theater.
3 minutes of the movie. I haven't looked up once. In about 5 minutes, I have no idea what's going on. I have to go back and rewind. Now I'm trying to find my spot. It's bad.
That's
Have you seen you bring up Michael Jackson, and Twitter has ruined Michael Jackson for me because there's these Michael Jackson impersonators in Vegas.
Yeah.
And they take like videos of the Michael Jackson impersonators.
You haven't been to New York City, have you?
Wait till
No,
we
I
hear
haven't.
about
I
Elvis.
have
Because
not.
Times Square and the Marvel characters and the Naked Cowboy are going to ruin a lot of things for you then.
There's this video of this Michael Jackson impersonator watching another Michael Jackson impersonator, and it looks like the Michael Jackson impersonator thinks he's Michael Jackson watching Michael Jackson. And it's like,
It's actually kind of
interesting. It is the
Deep. Wow,
craziest.
that
It's
hurts.
one of the craziest videos I've
Don't
seen.
take edibles in the
because
morning.
the guy is smiling
Oh.
and acting as if like Michael Jackson would be watching an impersonator, even though he's not him. He's like he's a random dude impersonating him. It is one of the most wild videos. Every time I think of I hear Michael Jackson, I think of that video. I will show you that video. It is wild. It is like I can't believe society is like this. Are you now looking it up?
I'm going to see here. Because the Michael Jackson musical was fantastic. It's one of the better
I'm
shows
jealous.
I've seen at
Yeah.
the Orpheum.
Orpheum good theater?
Yeah.
I haven't been. I have to go. I got to
Do
go.
you know where the Orpheum
Hot
is?
take.
If I'm being honest, I passed it before. I think it's in the downtown area.
It's not by me, so we narrowed it down.
I don't know. You told me part of the charm though about me moving to Omaha is that you're shocked how little I know about Omaha after living here for 7 months.
Have you ever
Yes.
been to the zoo?
I haven't been to the zoo yet.
Yeah, I remember why, though. I understand.
I went. I was gonna go, and then I saw the ticket prices, and I'm like, I am not ready.
You're
I
making
need-
a lot of money.
I
It's
need
true.
no, but if I'm gonna pay that dollar amount to go to the zoo, I need
Date.
to like pack a Subway sandwich, and like make it a whole day. Like if I'm gonna pay that price, I need to be at the zoo for like 7 hours.
I don't even know what the zoo costs. these
It was
days.
$31
That's not
when I
bad.
went up.
Actually
Seen worse.
comparison for what
Yeah.
you're getting at the Henry Dorley Zoo. That's not bad.
I
You could even buy a
don't
stuffed
see-
animal.
My problem wasn't necessarily the price. My problem was that I was walking in there as like, oh, I'm gonna pop my head in and
Oh.
be here for like an hour and a half, like to like see a gorilla.
You
or
didn't
two.
plan.
I didn't really. When I went up there, I was like, oh no, this is more so like a proper
It's a day.
yes. Like we gotta bring the kiddos, or we gotta have like a group.
Which
of
you
people
can
to
rent
enjoy
those.
this. Kids,
Yeah.
you can rent.
Oh,
kids.
yeah, I'm sure you can.
You can't
No,
rent kids.
You would look at
What are you
anything,
talking
yeah.
about? You
Take a
can't-
kid here.
No,
This is Matt.
You can't rent
Take him
a
to the zoo.
kid. There's no such thing.
You can babysit mine.
It's not a scooter on the side of a highway.
There was
You
a
can't
scooter
just
on the
rent
side
a
of
kid.
Dodge driving here.
I don't like the scooters.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of scooters. They're whipping around everywhere. It's ridiculous.
Wow.
The two-wheel
Hey,
things,
good-
not the
good
coffee.
Monday morning. Bitch a little bit more over there.
Don't tempt me. I can keep going. I got a lot of complaints. In the Omaha Baseball Village, we literally had a segment called Matt McComplaints. I got a whole Rolodex of things I'm annoyed about.
That's what happens when he spends all this time with me.
I was about to say.
I'm in a happy mood today. Great mood.
It's Monday.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Monday. It's
Warm.
It's a short week for the station.
It's still
a
warm.
Short week for everybody. We celebrate America.
Yeah.
America.
Hot
This
dogs,
weekend.
Joey
We
Chestnut.
can fight in our neighborhoods over who likes fireworks and who doesn't. Baghdad has not entered my neighborhood yet, but it is coming. I can sense it. There was a little flicker last night. Last year, I had two neighbors that tried to outdo each other.
Oh no,
Uh-huh.
that's got to be the worst.
So I'm expecting more. But before the week is over, well, actually before the day is over, Nebraska football may add a guy named Claude.
That'd be incredible.
Oh, not knowing the ins and outs of the 50s, 60s, maybe even the 40s rosters, there can't be many Claudes that have played at Nebraska.
I love I feel like Claude is a part of the like names in this generation that we're losing. You don't meet too many Claudes in general.
You do not.
Claude Humphrey? About it.
The
Damn, I don't know any other
Creed? Do you think
Creed
it's short for Claude?
Wait, who am I thinking? Oh, gee.
I ask him that.
I know a Claude
I've
somewhere.
never met a Claude.
Let's find a Claude.
I've never, I can say that confidently. Never one time at any point have I met a Claude. I've been friends
Well,
with a Claude.
today, Nebraska may meet
Claude
their
Monet.
future offensive line. Yeah, but he didn't play football at Nebraska.
I know it.
Look up and see if anybody named Claude has ever played at Nebraska.
Claude, Nebraska football. What is going to go in the Google?
You better go Chat GPT on that one. Also, before the week's over, this is maybe the best thing about the whole week that will culminate with Independence Day, where we celebrate America, is Joey Chestnut is back. We're less than a week until the return of one of the greatest sporting events on the calendar in the United States.
Claude Rowley, part of the 1930 Skurs.
Okay. That was a little bit lean time back then.
From Clyde, Kansas. I've done a game there.
Claude from Clyde.
He was a halfback.
Wow.
We've always been able to recruit well in Kansas, regardless of name.
And backs.
From
and time of century in the 1930s. It's always been a hotbed for recruits.
I mean, that might have been the trade for Gale Sayers. We get Claude from Clyde.
Claude from Clyde.
And then they get Gale from Omaha. That seems like a fair trade.
Claude from Clyde and Claude from Chicago.
Yeah. But coming up this week, Joey Chestnut is back. It is the greatest sporting event that happens on the 4th of July.
You know that we were in the dead season of sports because yesterday on my multi-view was the 2023 hot dog eating contest.
Nice. Claude Robinson
ESPN
from 1903.
That they're replaying. Can't believe we're replaying hot dog eating contest on Sundays.
Why?
Why
not?
I think it's a disgusting
It
event.
is a machine. If there's going to be a Mount Rushmore of American athletes that down other countries, yes, his name is Joey Chestnut. He's back. He's minus 1,200 to win in his return. He was gone last year. It's like Caitlin Clark. When Caitlin Clark doesn't play, I don't watch the WNBA. When Joey Chestnut is not eating hot dogs,
you don't watch.
Okay, when he's not just glizzies, I'm not watching.
Not even.
But I'm there.
Mikey Sudo.
I am dialed in at noon on July 4th to watch Joey Chestnut because now the total, the over/under. This is for Mixed Sportsbook and Malik Beasley is 71.5.
Oh yeah,
that's a great shout, by the way. That video of Malik Beasley sprinting the court to go and have a 2-point dunk at the very end of the game to cover a spread is, or apparently, quote unquote,
kind of interesting that those allegations come out when he is in the middle of negotiating a 3-year, $42 million deal with the Pistons.
One of the top
funny how that happens
in the NBA.
Yeah, free agency starts today in the WNBA or the NBA. I should
say. DraftKings has Nathan's hot dog eating contest odds.
This is a regular
crazy.
thing. Why is it crazy?
Surprised you're shocked.
I have no idea.
This is your generation.
I will never bet on this.
The Wing Bowl in Philadelphia and the Nathan's hot dog eating contest. Two huge staples.
Believe it or not,
they're the Wing Bowl. They, by the way, are moving out of Philadelphia.
I've never heard of the Wing Bowl.
So WIP. It's one of the off-the-wall events of all time with a sports talk radio station.
That's a big deal.
Believe it or not, there are things that even I am not willing to bet on. This is one of them.
Why Joey's easy money.
Grown men and women shoving glizzies down their gullet is not something that I'm necessarily clamoring to watch or clamoring to bet on. Sorry, Patrick Bertoletti, so this is crazy.
He's good.
By the way,
he's been in it for like every year. There's no really new competition.
He doesn't win, but he's a respectable.
This is how you know you are the greatest of all time in your sport. There is a section of 2025 Nathan's hot dog eating contest winner, and you can bet on Joey Chestnut. And then there's a separate section of outright winner without Joey Chestnut. The fact that there are betting odds that remove an opponent from the line just shows that you are the greatest of all time. I will acknowledge that Joey Chestnut is great at what he does, and he's incredible. It's just
he is the 95 Huskers of competitive eating.
I've never.
He's like when you would combine the 95 Huskers and the 01 Hurricanes.
Oh yeah. That's even better.
I have zero interest.
You'll watch
Tommy Frazier, Andre Johnson.
I'm not going to watch him. I'll be at the Cubs game.
There's so many people that say I'm not going to watch, and they watch.
This is one where I'm pretty solidly putting 10 toes down that I will be at Murphy's Bleachers having
and it'll be on, and you'll be watching it.
Mm-hmm.
No, probably the qualifying for the Chicago Street.
Call us all voyeurs. We'll be watching.
Oh no, that's
love it
on Saturday. But no, I will be in Murphy's having a couple of brews, not watching Joey Chestnut and have what's the line? What's the over under? 60?
71.5.
Oh my God.
Have you You've never seen this, have you? So you
I know it
nothing-
exists. I
Yeah.
know nothing. No, I refuse.
This surprises
I
me.
refuse.
Matt's a man of the
No,
people.
I have no
Young
no
people.
want or
It's
interest.
gambling.
Yeah.
I'm
gambling.
not. I once again, I am not
You gamble
gambling
like
on this.
none other.
I gamble like so many others. Okay, I am the most standard.
I live through
gambler
you.
I just, By the way, shout out Moicano, who absolutely crapped on Brian Edwards and I's parlay for UFC this Saturday.
We didn't have a good weekend.
No, we bet 50 and I got back 35, so we only lost $15. But by the way, too,
Read the pamphlet.
NASCAR decided to have their race on Saturday.
Yeah.
What are we doing? Come on, that's Sundays.
Is that bad?
It's Sundays. Did they not get the memo? On Sundays, I watch NASCAR. They played it on. It was the best race of the year, and it was on Saturday.
It's because of
It was Lord's Day.
the Chicago being a street race and the timing.
No. I mean for
Do it at 8 o'clock on Monday morning.
Atlanta,
No,
it was
that's
on
why they
Saturday.
moved it to Saturday.
Oh,
night.
really?
Yeah.
I can't stand it. Was
And
such a good
Atlanta
race.
wanted a night race.
Atlanta was such
Not even
a
the
good
Atlanta
race, but I
Motor
barely
Speedway
watched
anymore.
It was incredible. Brad Keselowski did not get any help
Yeah.
from anybody.
NASCAR's had a nice little run. So has American soccer last night.
That was tough for a second, and then Yeah.
We have a new Captain America.
I watched 2 seconds of the match.
They went to PKs.
Oh, okay.
Oh, we took down Costa Rica.
Okay.
We'll see you Wednesday in St. Louis. All right, coming up on the show, Evan
we
Bland.
need football.
We had football.
We need.
It just wasn't American
No, we need
football.
American football.
You should take in some CFL.
I'm
It's not
talking
bad.
about NASCAR. We're talking about hot dog eating contests and Costa Rica playing the United States in soccer. I need the Vikings to play the Tennessee Titans on Sunday Night Football more than I can breathe right now.
Damn.
Quick thing here before I give you the lineup. Brandon says check the ticket prices at the San Diego Zoo.
I have
That's
been
what I
to
thought.
San Diego.
Probably a little more.
$76
Oh
for
my
a
God.
one-day pass.
That would
as
be
an
more.
adult.
Shout out Omaha.
I would say it's worth it.
for San Diego.
Been there a couple of times.
I've been to San Diego once. It was great.
The zoo?
The zoo. Oh, and the city in general.
You know
When we-
Petco? You'd like Petco.
I didn't go. I haven't. I
The
have
park,
not
not the
traveled.
store.
I did
I'm-
one of the first games ever at Petco Park.
Like on the TV or radio.
Radio, Nebraska baseball played in a tournament with San Diego State.
That's awesome.
That had
That's
to be when they're breaking it in. Yeah.
What year was that?
It's about 25 years ago.
It still looks that park's 25 years
nice.
old. It still looks great.
Mhm.
I haven't been there. I really like baseball. I'm terribly traveled when it comes to parks or anything like that. Been to like 4 parks.
Well, it seemed like the entire state of Nebraska and Omaha was at the K this weekend. There were a lot of Dodger fans from around here. Like, there were a lot of Dodger fans
There's a lot
at
of
that series. Now, I know some of you might be old front runners because they are the World Series champions and they have the GOAT that is playing for them, who threw a 102-mile-an-hour fastball on Saturday in his start. The lone game that the Dodgers lost in that series. A lot of Dodger fans. A lot of Dodger fans.
There's a lot
that
of
live in
people
this area.
on
Time
Twitter.
for Dodger baseball.
There's a lot of people who I follow who decided to go to this Kansas City series and just take all the pictures about it
Because
and
you don't
complain about the rain delay.
when they changed,
Mhm.
complain about the rain delay.
I'm just
Would you
really-
rather have been
I'm just
99 and hot?
I'm just getting on Josh Peterson, who's complaining about the rain delay on Twitter. Just thought it
Really?
was fun.
That's because he's a snow guy.
yeah.
Yeah, rain, that's not him. He's the guy who gets us more
Didn't
snow.
last very long.
Yeah.
I know, but he posted a picture on
Like
Twitter.
he was
about-
upset.
Yeah, about the rain delay,
Was he
about
just
Mother
joking?
Nature. I don't know. I
Yeah.
had no clue. I just
Sometimes
wanted
it's a
to throw
bit.
it out there.
I think he's probably joking.
Yeah.
Probably.
It wasn't that long of a rain delay.
I thought it was a terribly long rain delay based on the tweet I saw.
It actually helps you to not be uncomfortable.
I do have to say it is really cool for the Dodger fans to be able to see their team in the K and play at the K. But if I were like really, really excited to see Shohei Ohtani pitch, and I've never seen him pitch before, and then he goes out and he pitches 2 innings, I'd be a little disappointed. I'd be like, I wish he had a third or fourth inning, threw more than, had 40 or 50 pitches. I know that he's coming back, and you can't really do Shohei on rehab in AAA because you still need his
No,
bat.
they're not.
You know?
They're not demoting Shohei to AA for a rehab start to take that bat out of the lineup.
I know.
He can
that's what I'm
rehab
saying.
right there.
That just
he's
shows
got-
you how good he is.
I know.
Yeah, hey, Shohei, we'd love to send you to Arizona to the complex to get in some throws,
Yeah.
but we're going to need you to stay around and bat.
Isn't that incredible that he kind of has to do his rehab assignment in the MLB
Hmm.
because he's so good at hitting? Because my buddy was like, yeah, he only threw 2 innings. And I'm like, well, you can't bring him down to AAA. How many home runs would he hit at AAA in 10 games?
Oh, we'd have to go to Oklahoma City.
It'd
that
be
would
crazy.
be. Yeah.
It'd be like seeing an 8th grader coming back to play against the 5th graders. in the basketball court, putting his shoulder into
Like
chest.
Shaq against a little guy.
I mean,
all right, coming up at 8:30, Evan Bland will stop by with thoughts aplenty from the Omaha World Herald. And then Adrien Dao, the athletic director at Omaha, who today is a big day across college athletics because you're either opting in or opting out. Omaha has elected to opt out, and we'll let Adrien explain the reasons why it's beneficial to Omaha. He'll join us coming up at 9 o'clock. You don't want to miss that conversation. That's the lineup brought to you by the Roof-Rees at John Higgins Weather Guard. All right, you want football? We will talk football today because there's a lot of stuff to talk about. It's all about recruiting. All about recruiting. What a month of June. What a month of June across college football for recruiting. Not just Nebraska, which today should get some really good news at about 5 o'clock. You would think.
Hopefully.
I don't know. Shafe said Ole Miss. A lot of people said crystal ball. Hell no.
Well,
that Nebraska is going to get an offensive tackle that I think will secure a spot in my Super Six.
Well,
and in Sharpie, I will put it.
Considering the fact that he's going to be the 10th commitment, he would be the 10th commitment. I don't know if being a part of the Super Six has to be a great accomplishment when there's like 31 commits, right? When you're like,
well, okay.
When
so
there's 10 commits, you kind of like you're hoping you're a part of the Super
So in
Six.
the Super Six, if you're doing a Super Six and they're up to 9 with the flip on Friday of Scott, and you're going to add another wide receiver, you could add another offensive lineman from New Orleans, but weird crystal ball popped in from somebody that covers New Orleans last night, does not have Noel coming to Nebraska, would Dayton Raiola be in your Super Six?
Yes.
Right now?
Yes.
For 2026?
Yes, he would be. He's got a strong enough arm, and he's athletic enough for me to be like, this is a quarterback prospect that I could get. Dayton is one of those situations where if you didn't have such a healthy quarterback room, that you would get more excited about him coming. He would be in my Super Six, though. Yes. Now, if there was, like I said, there was 15 to 20 commitments,
he wouldn't.
It would be dependent on who else is there, but he would fall. He would be on the edge.
5th or 6th on your board right now.
Yeah.
So easily to be moved out.
He would. Right now, he's probably 4. I would have Scott, Odom, Hainsworth, and Raiola, Dane Raiola, and I don't even know who would be 5 or 6 at this point. For sure in Puma if he were to commit today.
All right, all of that to come on a Monday, the final day of June. Plus, I'll put in a crystal ball for something involving Nebraska athletics.
Okay.
This morning. Evan Bland, Adrien Dao. You'll look forward to that conversation with Adrien coming up at 9 because Omaha made national news on Friday when they released their reasoning. It was very thorough, and people are like, whoa. We'll let Adrien explain when he joins us again at 9. It's all part of Gary and Matt with Jimmy on a Monday on 1620 The Zone. All right. Speaking of music, this person will not be out on tour.
Beyonce? I know she's on tour. That's why I said it.
This is not Beyonce.
Oh, okay. Oh.
You know who this is?
I thought you were I know this is Michael Jackson. I thought you were
knew it.
leading.
I didn't doubt you.
You said this person will not be on tour. I thought you were leading into someone who wouldn't be on tour.
I mean, still true. This person won't be on tour, so nobody lied.
It'll be tough for Michael Jackson to be on tour.
Oh, what a story.
If it were to happen, be big.
I'm going to throw a crystal ball out there for a concert.
Okay.
That, if it comes to fruition, will not be announced for a while.
Okay.
I would not be surprised if next year Luke Combs' world tour stops in Lincoln.
That'd be great.
I don't have any insider information, but remember, Kansas City has the World Cup. So anybody that's doing outdoor shows next year, Kansas City is not an option.
Sure.
Nebraska wants a concert next year, like a mega concert.
Kids like country music here.
Luke Combs is doing a world tour.
You're talking about Memorial Stadium. Well, I said when you said Lincoln, I thought PBA for a second. I didn't have the full scope of this. Could be a Memorial
I knew what you were getting
Stadium
at because you
concert.
hinted last week.
That would be take my money. Take my money immediately.
I just call him Warhorse.
I'm putting two and two together. He's going to have a world tour because he got some new music coming out. And Nebraska is actively looking for a major show. And having that artist and that genre
would be incredible.
in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Now, last time he was in Nebraska, he was in Omaha. He didn't go to Lincoln at all, right? So
I don't
think he went to Lincoln.
I don't recall. I've seen him in concert, but not around here.
But he has
been here a couple times.
No, he was here 2 years ago. It was awesome. He had an incredible concert. He had Lainey Wilson open for him,
I remember her.
and that was before she was on Yellowstone. Like she was still, and she had
so pre-Ozempic.
Yes,
hell yes.
And so she just released "Heart Like a Truck." Like that, the day she performed, like I think a couple days before, like "Heart Like a Truck" came out. That was cool. And then Jordan Davis was his opener, and I thought Jordan Davis was better than Luke Combs. Jordan Davis was awesome, but Luke Combs is my favorite.
You thought Jordan Davis was better than Luke Combs?
I thought he performed.
That was right when Combs was taking off.
He was
2 years ago.
It was right after the "What You See Is What You Get" tour, and this one was he had just released his one right before his Father and Sons album, which his Father and Sons album isn't
he knows his stuff.
Highly heralded,
I'm learning.
because it's not made for anybody other than Luke Combs. Like Luke Combs literally is like, this is just made for me. Like I'm made to sing this. It's a sad album. I love it. But Luke Combs was at his peak. He was definitely at his peak. But I thought Jordan Davis was awesome. Jordan Davis was
really good.
I mean, and I didn't know too many. It was one of those performances where I didn't really know too much about Jordan Davis before I went to the concert, and then I saw him perform, and I was like, I'm a fan of this guy. This guy's awesome. But
I didn't know he was where the show started.
Luke Combs would be probably, I think, the biggest country artist outside of maybe like George Strait that you could get, and Garth Brooks in Memorial Stadium. I think Garth Brooks and George Strait, those two, they're legends. Other than that, I don't think there's any like current,
not even Waylon,
like modern country that could beat Luke Combs. Maybe Stapleton, maybe.
In terms of like putting on a show or packing a house.
Packing a house.
Chesney.
Yeah.
Okay.
He fills up Arrowhead. There's another one you could look at.
The number one guy that you'd want to get who just wrapped up a 2-night stay in Madison is Morgan Wallen.
Once again, that was like the Kansas City Royals game where I knew everyone and their mother who was at that concert putting it on their stories and whatnot. That looked like an insane concert.
Story.
Who would he walk out? Who would Morgan Wallen walk out with?
Matt Rule.
Matt Rule and Larry the Cable Guy? Is that kind of set?
Nope. He would walk out. He would do the tunnel walk. Okay, so he'd come out of the Nebraska locker room. Mm-hmm. The doors would open. He, of course, would be with Rule.
Yeah. And Raiola.
Bo's cat, maybe?
No.
You don't think he'd be with Dylan? You don't think Dylan would find a way to do the walkout with Morgan Wallen?
Who'd get more of a pop? The head coach or the quarterback?
The head coach.
Thank you.
This is in a year, right?
For sure.
Never know.
He would walk out with Matt Rule and John Cook. And then on his walk to the stage, and as he pauses, there's another person comes into the picture.
Low red.
Tom Osborne.
Oh. Whoa.
And the stadium would fall down.
Morgan Wallen would not walk out with Tom Osborne.
With that
Mattress Mac.
He would not.
He was in Houston.
He would not. He would not walk
walking
out with Tom Osborne. He would no. That would not happen.
Well, right. T.O. the old red pants.
What do you got against T.O.? T.O. is on a heater right now. He's 3 for 3 in recruits that he has helped Nebraska get because he just said, hey, come to my backyard and let's go fishing.
I'm not against T.O. I just don't think that T.O. would put himself in that situation. I don't think that's like, I don't think he's making a walkout with Morgan Wallen.
He didn't have to walk the whole way. He just halfway. Halfway. There's a lot of, I don't know how much you've seen of Morgan Wallen, but there'll be times where he's walking and then there will be a surprise guest midway through and then they'll walk the rest away with him. T.O. would be that guy.
I know the routine where he comes in with 2 dudes and then they do, if I'm being honest with you, Morgan's Wallen cameramen really know the rule of thirds. They're very good about making sure that Morgan is in the farthest right third and the guy comes in and daps him up or whatever. I just don't think it would be Tom Osborne who would do that.
Damn, that sounded like a good idea. These crap.
I think it'd be a great idea.
It's his field.
I think Sue. I think Ndamukong Suh. That would be the top. Because you got to get I think Morgan Wallen very much cares about, is this going to get on Twitter? Is this video going to hit social media? And we need to get people who would get us to get social media. Having Drake walk out with him, that was perfect. And then Mattress Mac, that was creative.
So you get a local person that who cares if the guy in Lincoln, Nebraska doesn't know who Mattress Mac is. In Houston, where you're performing, everybody knows who he is.
Mm-hmm. But Sue. It would be Sue, not Tom Osborne.
Brandon says that would be the quickest way to start construction on South Stadium. Would. If you had Morgan Wallen and halfway through his walkout, there was T.O.,
we should just start with
stadium would just implode.
If we're just going to get Rule and Osborne, let's just do them all. Let's just have them start off. Morgan Wallen walking out with Bo, Frank, and Matt.
I was like, could you get Frank? That could actually help.
Bo
I know they
Matt
broke
Rule,
curses.
They all walk out behind Drake, and then T.O. comes in the picture. That would tear down the stadium.
Kyle writes in, DR15 doesn't miss an opportunity to be seen. Dude would definitely be doing the walkout with Wallen, even if Wallen didn't want him to.
He absolutely would be.
What if he has a great year this year?
If Morgan Wallen were here and they were doing the walkout, Dylan Raiola would be in it.
Apparently, Dylan doesn't want to be seen at the Manning Passing Academy.
Well, he wants to be seen everywhere else.
Here is Nathan from Omaha, or Omaha. Should live in Omaha. Nathan from Ohio.
Nathan.
On the Prairie Fire Casino Hotline. Good morning.
Hey, how are you guys doing?
Good. How are you doing? It's been now, about 10 days since you returned home?
Yep, and my daughter's still pregnant. So,
oh my God.
But she's coming over today to do laps with my wife around the boulevard to evict my grandson.
Evict?
Holy cow. Okay.
Yeah. Fun stuff.
Evict because he shouldn't be there anymore, is what you're saying.
Well, my daughter's tired of him being there. I mean, technically speaking, he should still be there, but
technically speaking,
they want it over now. Yeah.
Yeah. So I learned a long time ago, you don't argue with a woman who's 39 weeks pregnant about her just wanting to be done with the pregnancy. So,
oh God,
that's how my morning started.
Sure. I'll go buy castor oil for you. Yeah, why not? So yeah.
I would probably advise against that. I'm not a doctor or anything, but maybe just I get the reasoning, but there might be after effects.
Like I said, you don't argue with a woman who's the same.
That's amazing. How is her mindset? Is she still happy-go-lucky, or is she just miserable?
I think, she is generally a happy-go-lucky sort, but it's very evident that she is ready to hold the baby, not carry the baby. So yeah,
that's a good way to look at it.
That's a great way of putting it.
Everybody else though has recovered.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk to you guys about. So you guys talked about radio play-by-play last week, and I'm a listener of the podcast. I listen to every episode, but I always am a couple days behind. So I'm not. So you have to forgive me. But one aspect you guys didn't mention that I really didn't know about too much or care about for radio play-by-play is for those who are visually impaired. So my son, he is fully blind. He can't watch a game on TV. And play-by-play on TV is geared to what you see. And of course, radio play-by-play is geared towards describing everything because you can't see it.
Yeah.
And if radio play-by-play were to go by the wayside, you'd have a bunch of Americans who love sports and want to listen to sports or take in the experience who couldn't because they can't see it. And it's very evident when you pay attention to it. Like watch a TV broadcast with your eyes closed, and you're like, wow, there's so much gaps. So there's times where the radio play-by-play won't be available, and I'll be watching. I think it was hockey. I was watching hockey with my son, and so I was actually doing play-by-play for him, just because there's just random sounds going on unless you're describing the action, right? So I'm really, really happy that we have a great play-by-play for Nebraska sports. I'm glad we've invested in that. And I know a lot of it is the farmer culture and them being out on the tractors, and that's great. But it is a nice offshoot for those who are visually impaired to have that option.
Yeah, I mean, that's like when you're getting into play-by-play, and especially radio play-by-play, and this is why baseball announcers separate themselves, is you are doing the play-by-play with the mindset that whether you're visually impaired or not, you can't see what's going on. So you are the eyes to the people that are listening, either on the app or on the other side of the radio. So
absolutely.
So I think your son will be able to follow, because the app is free. There's no restrictions on being able to listen to Nebraska athletics. Your son will really enjoy this upcoming season of football. He will know where the ball is. He'll know who scored, 100%. All that kind of stuff. Yep.
100%. And now he's getting old enough. Like, he's going to be 4 in November, so he's still younger. Okay. But it's just like those life experiences, So at Disney, I know we harp on this, but at Disney it was really cool too, because we have this little sign that says, "Hey, I see with my hands," because touching characters is kind of a no-no. But that's how he sees the world, right? So, time we went into a character line, the cast member would go up to the character and say, "Okay, this is Judah. He can't see you. He has to see you with his hands." And the characters were very accommodating. Like, okay, Pluto's like letting him touch his nose and everything like that. He's kind of exploring, like, what is this giant stuffed animal that's life size, you know? And so it's just interesting, because there's just so much we take for granted with our eyesight. So when you experience that with your child and life with your child, you're like, oh, okay, this makes sense. Even learning etiquette. Like, there's this whole etiquette around blind people, and having to kind of learn that of how you deal with your toddler. It's very interesting.
Great stuff, Nathan. Hey, we appreciate it. Have a great week.
Thank you. You guys too.
Thanks, Nathan. It's a great point from Nathan too, because I remember when I went from doing radio play-by-play to TV play-by-play. When I started doing TV play-by-play, I was calling it like I would on the radio. Like, I was like saying every pass and every moment, and far side, near side. And I remember I had a teacher be like, "Man, Matt, they can see, like, they can see the picture. They see that you're going from this person, this pass. You don't have to call everything. Just call them going to the basket, or call them like shooting a shot." And so it is kind of one of those things where I don't think you fully realize it. I really never even realized it until I started announcing how much different the TV play-by-play and how announcers approach it compared to radio.
It was a difficult transition for me to do TV, because when I first started, I had this really, really good director, and he pulled me aside a couple of weeks into our season, and he said, you are a radio guy. You'll always be a radio guy, but let's do something different. He goes, because you like to watch the game. He goes, there are times you have to watch the monitor. He goes, because remember, people that are watching can see everything, and you don't want to water down the product with so many words, because TV, you let it breathe. In radio, he said, you have to add water to it to let it grow, and that's with your voice. And so that was a transition. But back to something Nathan said that I was thinking about over the weekend. Had a discussion with a couple of people. Now that Nebraska athletics has been on 2 of the best signals in the state, 2 50,000-watt blow torches, and they're no longer there. KFAB, even though there are many people that think the Huskers are still on KFAB, I'm here to tell you they're not. They're no longer on 590. Those are 2 major major frequencies, 50,000 waters, which you can get all throughout the state, all throughout the Midwest. And now they're on a little bit of a lower watt. It'd be like the Huskers being on 1620.
Mm-hmm. Oh, then I couldn't even hear them.
So they're sending you to the app to listen to all of the Husker athletics again.
Yeah.
But I hope in this town, where the signal will not be as strong as it was in the past, that Nebraska does more in Omaha. Like whether it be more appearances by the radio individuals now, the analyst for football happens to still live in Omaha.
Ooh, I know him.
But I'll be curious to see what they do with their affiliation with the radio network here. If you see more Nebraska in Omaha, because you get ready. Yeah. And people will call here and wonder why we don't have the games on, because people think we carry the Huskers, and that's perfectly fine because we are the Husker station in Omaha.
Yeah.
There is no doubt about that. But you're going to have trouble finding the game, and because you're going to have some promotion of, hey, we have a new affiliate, big kickoff, new signal. I mean, the people at Wallen are great. And I know most of them, and they do a fantastic job. But it's not going to be the same signal like when, it's going to be basically 1620.
Yeah.
And, you guys know what the problem is with our signal. So we're up on the dial. We're not, when we don't have a big tower. Even though we'd like a big tower.
We would love big towers.
Everybody wants.
I think it's important for Nebraska with their radio affiliation in this town and Nebraska continuing the brand in the city of Omaha that they're here a little bit more. Maybe they will. Maybe it takes a weaker radio signal to get them to do more stuff in Omaha.
Nebraska radio matters. And it always has. Like the minute I stepped here and the minute I got to Nebraska, I knew that. And you're taught the history of it and how people just care about the radio station so much and they care about the radio network. But also too, like, you kind of saw that through this job search in terms of how extensive it was and how long it was. And it's like, I think the process of it and like the fact that they took it so seriously just once again proved that, it matters. It matters a ton for them to have high quality radio.
It's very, if you are a rights holder, it's very difficult.
Yeah. I mean, I've worked with, because you and I both have worked with the people who have the rights to the Huskers. And it definitely is you have to be accommodating. You have to be flexible and you have to like do a lot.
You also have to be, you're there to make money.
Yeah.
I think it's tough to make money off the Huskers. It took a long time for Broadcast House, and Broadcast House does it really, really well.
Yeah.
And I was there when we first got the affiliation. It took a while to find the right formula, and now they are a great partner. They are a fantastic partner. But financially, it's clear that having a 50,000 watt signal was not conducive to making it worthwhile to continue that relationship.
I think that
and it sucks for Nebraska and Nebraska fans because that is a big time signal.
They could get it in Kansas City.
Everywhere. We tried to buy that signal about 3 years ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn.
I mean,
they got me instead. Talk about
they got me instead too. But working with the people, because I have talked to some people who work at Walnut who are like in tide with what they're going to do and working with the Husker Radio Network and talking to them. And you talk about the signal and it being a little bit weaker. It doesn't take away from the fact of how excited they are to like have it and how ambitious they're going to be.
They should.
That's
not the conversation here.
I know.
They are excited and they should. I mean, it's good radio people over there.
They're going to take it incredibly seriously.
And that's the Huskers.
Do as good of a job as they possibly can.
Oh, we did the same thing here. Yeah. I mean, when K-Car was the main station, it's a great branding opportunity. It just, there are things like the programming you have to carry. Mm-hmm. If you're not a sports station, all of a sudden you go from playing the hits of the 60s to and now we go live to Memorial Stadium.
Yeah. Or you go
it can be a little bit jarring.
You go from Fox News to then we gotta go into Sports Weekly. You go from Hannity to Jessica Cootie. It's a little bit of a different transition. But I do want to ask you this because I don't really know, because I haven't really listened on the app because most of the time I'm either watching the game on the TV or I'm lucky enough to be in the stadium watching the game. Is there on the app, are there any blackout restrictions
Not
or anything
anymore.
like that?
I don't believe anymore. There used to be like a 75 mile radius.
Okay.
I think it's free anywhere in the world.
Good. Blackout restrictions, man.
That was like Spurs games on pay-per-view.
I understand the business of it, but like we would be in Chicago and I'd be working and there would be people calling the radio station who are in Chicago being like, I can't listen to the game on the radio. I want to listen, or I can't listen to the game on my phone. I want to listen to Jeff Joniak, right? Like I I get that there's some business aspects and financial aspects of like
Very
doing the
much so.
blackouts. And so I respect that. But at the same time, it's like, I'm glad that we don't have that here at Nebraska, where like that has to be worrying, because I would get those calls. I would feel bad for people. They just want to listen to the radio on their favorite team, and they're in the city, and they can't do it unless they hop in their car and turn on the radio.
Yeah, I get there are in terms of radio blackout, there is some protection for your sponsors.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So I do understand that, but I mean, being able to listen wherever also makes up for some markets where the signal isn't very good, or you're traveling. It just helps you grow. It grows your audience,
and more people are going to listen to the product, right? Like when you have a blackout restriction, you're essentially telling people we don't need you. We don't need you to listen to this, right? There are things that are more important than that. I'm glad that Nebraska doesn't have a blackout restriction.
All right. Adrien Dao is going to join us coming up in about 2 hours, as Omaha has elected to opt out of the settlement. That today will be a busy day for people to make public declaration. Maybe Nebraska will say they're opting in. Also, maybe today we'll hear what sports are going to be part of the rev share for Nebraska.
I would love a breakdown and a pie chart. Just throw out a pie chart. So here's what we're getting here. That's what I want.
1 hour in the books, another hour to come. We'll try and find where Dylan is on 1620 The Zone. All right, good Monday morning. Final day of June.
Month flew by. Here's all the months are flying by. I'm hoping July kind of flies by.
Oh, well, you're getting older. Well,
No, I know. Well, I'm hoping it flies by not because of anything other than just getting rid of football. Let's hold on. Getting to the Greek. Then McMaster, Kansas City. And then immediately, that's going to be one of the longest weekends of my life. That's going to be Kansas City straight into a wedding. It's going to be great.
Okay.
I'm going to come back on Monday an absolute zombie. It'll be awesome.
All right. Good morning, everybody. You're
Good morning.
Tuned in to hear somebody complain about their
I'm not
life and their
complaining.
luxuries.
I'm not complaining.
Have to work and cover the
being a zombie is a
Huskers.
good thing.
I'm
I'm
young.
looking forward to it.
Bridesmaids.
We're going to have 1620 the house.
Hey, is this where it kicks in, Jimmy? Like our young baby boy over here,
Who's had a great week.
did a great job at the College World Series.
Thank you.
He kept the complaining
Yeah,
to a
great
minimum. But now we're a week past the College World Series. Are you just going to go all in on complaining?
I am king bitching. That's what I am.
Do you know that once
I
upon a
always
time,
have been.
I used to be like happy and chipper all the time, and just I was your age, and I was everything was a
what?
great day.
Here's what you should be today and moving forward.
Okay.
You should have
Let me
the
know.
energy and the excitement and the positive outlook like a guy like Harrison Phillips has. So Harrison Phillips was back this weekend, and his Playmakers camp was going on. You can tell how Harrison, the conversation about Harrison Phillips was always about, well, in Nebraska, why you go to okay. Now that Harrison has been in the NFL and has had a nice career and it's getting paid nice money with the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah.
One thing I've always appreciated about him, and I've gotten to develop a friendship, is he is always somebody that wants to give back. He was giving back while he was a high school student at Millard West, even when he was way on the West Coast at Stanford. But then from the Bills to the Vikings, Omaha is always a special place for him. And so he had his event this weekend. And there are quite a few people in the sports community in this town that make the world go round. Harrison Phillips is one of those. That is a give back guy that always has a positive outlook, that is trying to help others, that he is a giver more than he is a receiver. So good for him. So that's how you should today be more like Harrison Phillips.
Thanks for making me look bad. Am I a receiver? McReceiver? I am. Look,
just all of a sudden, this was like a torrent of
He's
an
a fellow
hour of
Yorkie dad.
Just complaining about everything.
We should really just put a side by side of like me in December compared to me now, like the just grudginess that I now have. Look, I'm not complaining. I'm complaining about the lack of sports. That's what I'm complaining about. That, and I'm going to be. I know that the weekend is going to be fun. That wasn't me complaining. I am just going to be a zombie. I'm just going to be walking.
Hell, this weekend's going to be fun for you. You're going to have sports.
What's this weekend?
Aren't you going to the Cubs game?
I am going to the Cubs game.
Yeah.
God,
that'll be fun.
Be back in the friendly confines. Back in the
and
national.
You'll probably
landmark.
come back on Monday and you'll bitch. You'll be like, "Oh man, it was hot in
Hot.
Chicago."
I probably got melanoma now.
I'm going to come back and bitch because I'm going to come back and I'm going to complain about Wrigley.
Couldn't get in the 1912 club.
Like a BO, and the fact that they only have hot dogs and hot dogs there. That and the $22 beers I'm going to have to buy.
Okay,
So
that we can all complain.
That's your goal today, is to be more like Harrison Phillips.
Should put that on.
That should be a lot of
t-shirt.
people's goals. Hell, it should be my goal. But
Sure.
that was cool. That was an event that he had this weekend. Man, that is an A++ dude that was raised the right way. All right, coming up a little bit later, Adrien Dao, who also was raised the right way. Don't want to, overshadow his parents. Omaha made national news on Friday with what they're doing, opting in or opting out. They are opting out. Adrien will be by to tell you why. That's coming up at 9 o'clock. All right. So one thing happened this weekend. The Manning Passing Academy took place in Thibodaux, Louisiana. It started off with Garrett Nussmeier, Arch Manning in a vehicle with Cooper Manning, and then Archie Manning was driving. And then in the back seat was Todd Gaines, the guy from Raising Cane's, who,
of course,
he's everywhere.
Every college athletic program needs a Todd Gaines. Not everybody has the Michigan version of Todd Gaines, Ohio State's version, Oregon's version, or Todd Gaines and his connection to LSU. We all need a sugar daddy. We got to find a sugar daddy around here.
Chip Gaines?
I love, by the way, that he did what he did by making chicken nuggets. Like they're great.
Strips.
Raising Cane's is awesome. It's incredible.
Chicken nuggets?
It's
Chicken
tenders.
strips.
Chicken tenders.
Okay,
Chicken tenders.
That's
Nugget. Okay.
The
Isn't a
nugget,
tender
the nugget to the tender?
Whoa. Isn't a tender just a longer nugget? It's a longer, thicker
Don't you like
nugget.
more? Don't you like more meat, not less meat?
I'm not.
You
really
gotta have
a
more
big
meat.
chicken nugget, chicken tender fan.
But there's a difference between the nugget and the tender.
Like
a drastic difference. I don't think.
But there's the same
nuggets. You need
it's
more.
a square rectangle thing, isn't it?
Okay.
Whoa.
Because isn't a tender
Have
in
you
a
ever
way?
eaten a chicken tender?
It's
This
big.
might be something new.
It's big. It's long. It's a
And
long
what's a nugget?
A nugget is a part of a
Is it
tender.
girthy?
A tender is just multiple nuggets. If you were to take multiple nuggets and put them together, it would be a chicken tender. If you were to cut up a tender, they would become nuggets.
Ooh.
So he essentially,
He's gone deep.
they're
Damn.
kind of,
Now he's making me think.
they're in the same. They are
Jesus,
different.
Matt,
but
I don't
they're in
take
the
an edible till the
they're in the
afternoon.
They're in
Okay,
the same
so-
family. Edibles don't make me think; they just make me relax.
So
They just
you
knock
think
me out.
you think if Raising Cane's would have just gone, we just do nuggets, they
Oh,
would
good
not have had the
question.
same effect?
I think if they kind of chopped up the tender, like if you were to get like 4, but they still had the same quality meat, yes, I do think they would still be successful. But I don't think you could have a successful business model making like the tenders like McDonald's does. I don't think you could only make those small little nuggets.
Not
and
every
be
tender
super
is created
successful.
the same.
No, not every tender is created the same. And
You've
Raising
never had
Cane's-
chicken tenders, have you?
I have had plenty of chicken tenders. It's just not essentially when I go to a restaurant and I see chicken tenders, I immediately glance by it. I'm looking for something else.
Mr. Red Robin glances by
I'm
the chicken
sorry.
tenders.
I'm not 8 years old anymore. I'm not eating mac and cheese and chicken tenders for dinner. Okay, I'm sorry. There are some
We have
people.
made improvements. Good.
It is totally fine to have mac and cheese and chicken tenders for dinner. I am not an infant. I am not doing that. If you do that, to each their own. All right. Hey, I'm the guy who eats hot dogs. All right. So I can't act like I'm on a high horse. Right. Love hot dogs. But
Don't most people eat hot dogs?
no, but I'm saying from like eating like a kid, everybody knows that like a kid's diet is hot dogs, chicken tenders, and mac and cheese. That and a lot of
We
ketchup.
literally had that for dinner last week.
But you know what? There are adults that eat that.
Hell yeah.
They just don't-
If you go to a restaurant and you're over the age of 13 and you're ordering,
What kind of a restaurant is this?
Yeah.
this is like a sit down tablecloth,
Okay.
but it's on
so
the
we're
menu.
at the Drover?
But no, you're not at the Drover, but chicken tenders and mac and cheese are on the menu. If you are a grown up, if you're over the age of 13,
Let's say you
and
go to
you're ordering
DJ's.
a mac and cheese and a chicken tenders, you need to grow up. All right, you need to grow up.
All right,
you
texting
do.
my wife. I'm bringing home Cane's.
Okay.
No, that
Now,
would
whoa,
be.
whoa. There's nothing wrong with bringing home casual fast food that's mac and cheese and chicken tenders. I'm saying when you sit down at dinner with your family, and if you're like 35 and you get chicken tenders and mac and cheese, come on. Am I wrong here? Am I wrong?
This is a strong take, so
This
I'm
is-
interested
this
to
is-
hear the
come on,
feedback.
guys. We can just get a burger, get the fries.
Is it on the regular part of the menu or is it on the kids menu?
Oh, great question.
While you ponder that, let's talk to Dan. Good morning, Dan.
Good morning.
Good morning, Dan.
Chicken tenders are whole white meat chicken breasts that have been cut into strips and fried.
Okay.
Chicken nuggets are the chicken version of a hot dog. You really don't want to know what's inside.
Exactly.
You know what? I've watched. We should all watch the McDonald's chicken nuggets how it's made because it's actually a really great video and it is a very intense process.
So, question for you: if I were to get like, say, a dinner salad that had cut up chicken strips
Sure.
in them,
Sure.
am I all of a sudden now out of
No.
pocket if I'm at a restaurant?
No, because that's called a Cobb
It's the
salad,
same
Dan.
thing.
You ordered the Cobb. Okay. You ordered the garbage. You ordered the house. You didn't order mac and cheese and chicken tenders. That's totally fine. That's a starter before you get your big boy meal. So no,
What?
I'm not banning
no, that
chicken.
is the meal, the salad.
The salad's a great meal. It's called the Cobb. It's not. I mean, you're a grown up, but if you're sitting down, and you're getting your chicken nuggies with your mac and cheese, and you got a family of 4. I mean, come on, be a little bit different. It'd be a little bit more grown up.
Dan, thank you very much.
Mhm.
All right. Hopefully our guy over here is a little bit more educated on the difference. Bruin Steve says, ready?
Yes.
Nuggets are typically made from chopped and formed chicken, a little bit along what Dan just said.
Yeah.
White, while tenders and strips come from the breast meat of the tenderloin muscle, resulting in a more substantial whole muscle piece.
Breasts and thighs, always good.
Also with it,
More meat?
I got to think
Double
about
meaning.
I got to think about a Cobb salad.
No, you got me wanting chicken
I mean,
tenders.
God. Cobb salad.
Cobb salad is good. Yes.
When you go to Portillo's, have you gotten the chopped salad at Portillo's?
No, because if I went there on a regular basis,
Yeah.
I probably would expand.
Dude.
Since I only go there like once or twice a year, I got to go with the staple.
I'm telling you right now, if you do the chopped salad, just get a small chopped salad. It's great. It is, and I know people will be like, "Are you really telling Gary to go to a hot dog and Italian beef place and get a salad?" This salad is insane. Okay, it's got the noodles, it's got the chicken, it's got the house dressing. It's incredible.
Yeah. If I would, if I lived around a Portillo's,
You say house
Oh my
salad?
God,
I
I'd be
would probably,
done.
I would probably venture out.
I would be done.
Whoa.
I would be so. I gained 10 pounds when I was back in Chicago before I moved here. Probably strictly because I was eating Portillo's twice a week. It was bad.
There is a pull up at Gary and Matt. Are grown-ups allowed to order chicken tenders?
If you're going to Cane's, you're totally fine. You're totally okay. If you're going to Popeyes, you're going to KFC, you're picking up family dinner, you're all right, okay? But if you're going to a restaurant and you're sitting down, no, you are not allowed to get chicken tenders. There's some rules in society, all right? There's some etiquette in society. We got to keep that etiquette.
I always got chicken tenders when I did my coach's show. I mean, most of the stuff on the menu wasn't very good, but you could always go with the chicken tenders. I was a grown-up, had a grown-up job.
But if you're sitting down,
I was sitting down.
But this is a different. You're getting like given food.
You're always given food. You just have to pay for it.
No, this is different.
Yeah.
If you're sitting down at a tablecloth,
Okay,
don't get chicken tenders. Don't get chicken tenders.
There were
Go
no
somewhere
tablecloths.
There are probably a lot of places that if you are going to a place that has tablecloths,
If they're not
that's
serving chicken
not-
tenders.
that's not even on the menu.
Exactly.
So it takes away from
The
your,
point.
your argument here.
The point.
But with that
There's a
said,
reason.
so the Manning Pass Academy was this weekend.
Sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
I don't even know. Jimmy, don't even know.
Hey,
So
this is good for my
not everybody can be Tanner Lee and go to the Passing Academy
And be a two-time MVP.
and be a great player where everybody talks about you. Remember those 4 months back in 2017, the summer of 2017, when we grasped on to Tanner Lee showing out at the Manning Passing Academy? We loved it. We thought it was going to be different. And then Northern Illinois came to Lincoln and things did not look like that. So Dylan Raiola got an invite. And the best of the best quarterbacks in college football, most of them got invites.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them accepted and were working as counselors, but also working under the eyes of Peyton and Eli
Yes.
and Archie. And so they got like some private evaluation. And then they would have a little competition amongst the quarterbacks that are there. Nothing too strenuous.
No.
But it's a good quick weekend to kind of soak in some knowledge and be around guys that are on your same level. So Dylan got invited. Dylan did not accept. Dylan was not there this weekend. I believe he is in Michigan.
Okay.
So I'm a little bit disappointed.
I am too.
Because I think it would be a great opportunity to be around people that are high-level thinkers and productivity people like yourself that play that position,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
also to be around a Peyton Manning or an Eli Manning or even his dad and just kind of get an idea of how they think about you, just to get some knowledge. But then I think, man, Dylan is such a weird cat that maybe he doesn't want to be around those guys.
He doesn't want to get like compared to Nussmeier and Archie Manning.
He's a little bit awkward. Maybe he doesn't want to. That's not his group to hang around with. I'm not going out and just saying this is awful for Dylan. I'm just a little disappointed because I think it would have benefited him greatly. And it's not like he was working with his private quarterback coach. I believe he's on vacation for the weekend.
I hope this isn't a brand thing. Like I hope this isn't like the risk isn't worth the reward brand decision.
I hope not either.
Because if he's not going to the Manning Passing Academy because I don't want to look bad in front of Garrett Nussmeier, or I don't want people to think that they throw a better ball than me or anything like that, or I don't want to get compared and be on the wrong side of comparisons to these guys, that's bad. That's not, I hope that's not the case, because it should be the opposite. You should want to go there to be like, I am better than these guys.
Yeah, I would think as maybe next year you're like, I've been there one time, but maybe go there once.
Well,
just to get some feedback. Now, the Manning Passing Academy on TikTok did go through all the college quarterbacks that are there, and they had them throwing.
Yeah, I saw some videos of that.
Not everybody looked the same.
No.
I mean, Arch Manning looks a little bit different. Klubnik looks good.
Yeah.
There's
Nussmeier looked pretty good.
Future quarterback at Ole Miss seemed to struggle a little bit. But I think it's just being around people that if you want to play in the NFL, you're going to be around those same people. That it would be a great opportunity. So I hope that there was maybe a scheduling conflict or something. Not, you know what, I don't need it. Because I think it would benefit him greatly. It's not a hill I'm going to die on. It just, I'm kind of disappointed. I would have liked to see him matched up with some of the other quarterbacks. But also, I think Dylan could be a good teacher. And that's, you're working with groups and things like that.
I also think that there's a lot to gain from, because Dylan's got an incredible arm. And it's not the arm that he has to get better at. There are other things that he has to improve on that I would argue that Peyton Manning and Eli Manning are great at. That, in terms of footwork and in terms of accuracy, in terms of like having a base and also too, learning how to prepare.
Be a celebrity quarterback coach, wouldn't it? He's got his own quarterback coach that he works up with, but this would be like a weekend of having a celebrity quarterback coach.
Isn't this the opposite of what we've seen from him in terms of every opportunity that there's been to get his face out in front of the camera and get his face and his brand out there? He's taken that opportunity. And now there's this, and we I make jokes about him being everywhere and all that type of stuff because it is kind of funny. But man, this is like a built-in national great opportunity for you to do that. This isn't you grasping for straws, trying to get your brand out there. This is you actually getting invited to be on a pretty big stage and also improve your craft. And out of all the things,
it's just a different cat. This isn't his crew to hang out with.
For all the things to do though, like to go to all the high school basketball games and go to the College World Series and make all these appearances and shake hands and kiss babies and fly out to Vegas to be a part of the crown, to not go to this, which is considered a prestigious event, is just a very strange decision. It's just strange. Now I don't know what he's doing. I don't know if there's an actual excuse or if there's he's actually tending to something else. Could be.
I don't know if the college quarterbacks are compensated.
But the compensation is learning from Peyton Manning and Eli Manning.
Yes,
that's your compensation.
But you brought up something about the brand and the NIL, and I'm wondering if they get a little stipend.
That I think the compensation is you get to learn from maybe.
I agree with you.
The third best quarterback of all time.
I'm asking the question aloud if they compensate the college quarterback, because I think you as a camper you pay a fee.
Yeah, I hope. Once again, I hope that this isn't a Dylan Raiola didn't say to the Mannings, "Pay me to come to your passing camp." I mean, that would be.
Oh no! I'm going to say that.
I hope not.
I'm going to say that didn't happen.
I hope not,
because that'd be the last thing you'd want to get out.
Absolutely.
One of the Mannings mentioned that out loud.
That'd be.
I
hope not.
I don't.
I'm not saying it happened. I'm just saying you're talking about compensation, and I'm just saying I hope that isn't the case at all.
All right. So if you were looking for Tanner Lee-ish evaluations of Dylan Raiola, he was not at the Manning Passing Academy. All right, quick break. We'll come back. You got your Phil Steele? Did you go buy your Phil Steele?
I did. Well, I have the PDF. I didn't get the paperback copy.
Okay.
I like it on my computer. I like the scrolling. I haven't dove deep.
That's fair.
As deep as I want to yet, but I have read Nebraska. I did a little Auburn reading too. I was just
because they are in a battle for a 5-star offensive tackle from Chicago today at 5 p.m.
No,
is that why you were reading about?
I just follow way too many SEC people, and they're all talking about Auburn and how they think Auburn seems like they're going to be like the Illinois of the SEC, like how people talk about them. Like a lot of people are very positive in terms of what they got. So I just decided to read Phil's magazine. Phil likes them. Phil likes them a lot.
Auburn,
yeah. He's 24th in his power rankings. So Hugh Freeze, big year for him.
All right, we'll come back with more on Gary and Matt on 1620 The Zone. Hey, Moose Roofing can take care of you. We've had a rough stretch here of storms, and so maybe your most valuable asset, your home, is taking a beating. Yep. So it's time to say, you know what? That roof, the siding, the gutters, they need to have something looked at. And you're looking through and you're thinking, okay, what reputable local companies should I have to inspect our roof? Well, local is the key here. Now go to the MVPs of roofing. And in Omaha, that is Moose Roofing. Guys like Josiah and Elijah. They will take care of you. And let me walk you through the process of why Moose Roofing sets themselves apart from everybody else, because they walk you through the process. They're not aggressive, they're impressive. What they do is they sit down with you, they get to know your needs, what you're all about, and then they get on your roof. They take pictures. They go through all of the steps that they go through to ensure that when they start the work, they are doing the right job. And then they present to you all of their findings, and they work through a plan. And then you know what happens? Then they work with your insurance company. They have a whole department that is dedicated to insurance. The crew, the staff, they'll do a wonderful job. To the tear off, to the install, they can even do it in one day. It's almost like watching a magician at work when you see Moose Roofing on your roof. And the cleanup, magnificent. You'll never know that they were there. That's why Moose Roofing is number one from start to finish. Nearly 30 years in business, and it's local. For more information, to schedule an inspection, go to the website, mooseroofing.com. Hey, you and I were talking off air. So the July 4th hats,
Yes.
minor league baseball, Major League Baseball, I think so. The cord. So teams wear special hats on the 4th of July. The cords. The cords are part of the hat.
You're a part of it now.
The cord is part of like the game-worn hat.
You're a part of it now. You are a part of the tribe of cord hats. Welcome. Okay. It took us a while to get you here. I'm actually going to give myself a lot of credit because I think it took me wearing the Omaha Storm Chasers cord hat and the NASCAR cord hat for you to recognize that they're steezy. They're steezy hats.
Steezy? I've
Yeah.
never heard steezy.
That's like the Gen Z.
Oh, is that
in
the new?
style? Like, yeah.
Steezy?
Steezy. It's got a lot of steez.
So I could
is
steal
what
that
they
from
say.
you and use it today?
Yeah.
Would
If you-
people get it?
Yeah, they'll be like, dude, this is steezy. I don't know if you'll get away with
Nice.
it. I don't know if you'll get away with it, but I think people will know what you're saying.
Okay.
I actually, inside baseball here, you and I, it's crazy. We ran into each other literally at Target,
Yes.
which was shocking to me.
Shout
'cause
out Target.
I was looking at you for a good 10 seconds.
My man said he was getting hooks for his hat, and guess where he was? He was buying little chocolate bars. I'm like, whoa, I don't think they have hooks for your hat in this aisle.
You looked at me and you literally go, because I had no cart. I didn't have a basket or anything. You go, what are you buying? And I go, I'm looking for command strips. You go, in the candy aisle? By the way, I do want to point out, you were in the candy aisle too. You were in the candy aisle before me.
I know, but I had like 6 things in my hand. I was like, the end, I had to grab something on the way out.
I ended up getting the Halloween candies out right now. I don't know why the Halloween bags are out, but
It's just like a Hobby Lobby. They got Christmas stuff out now.
I love like the mixed bag you can get of just the small fun size treats. So that's what I grabbed. And then I saw you in the parking lot, and I don't know if you saw me, but I was trying to run your car down and show you that I got my command strips. Like I literally was sprinting, being like, I got him. I walked out. Anyway,
People are like,
all
look
this
at this
to say,
crazy kid.
I saw you. The moment I recognized you was because you were wearing your cord hat.
So you're attracted
Seriously.
to people that wear cord hats.
No, I'm not attracted to people to cord hats.
Did
I
you?
go, I
you
only know one man who owns that hat.
Yeah, that's a stizzy.
I go, that was steezy.
Steezy?
It is steezy.
Steezy?
When you picked it out in
Yeah.
front of me, I go, that's a steezy hat. And then you told me that you didn't like my hat.
I like the white.
You didn't like the Ndamukong Sioux patch on
Oh,
it.
I like the black shirt.
Yeah.
But the Sioux on the side.
What do you mean? That's like the coolest part of the hat. When I wear that hat, the thing that gets the compliment is, oh my God, look at that Ndamukong Sioux patch.
But the talking point of the hat is, what is black shirt? Like if you see it on the side, you're like, oh, okay. But see, people go, well, what is the black shirt?
Well, that's great. I'm raising awareness. When I first wrote my
What would be raising awareness is to be top 20 rush defense. Thank you.
well, when I first wrote my first articles
Mhm.
for just like recaps and stuff
Yeah.
like that, I would call the defense black shirts, and I would have friends who would read my articles and they'd be like, "What the hell is a black shirt?" So more people need to know that outside of the walls and outside of the borders of Nebraska, that black shirt is that's what we call the Nebraska defense. And so if it means that I bought a hat and I'm going to wear it around with a Ndamukong Sioux patch on my head to tell people to raise awareness, that's what I'll do.
It's the one part of Nebraska branding that still exists nationwide. You say black shirts and people immediately know what it is. Sean says cord hats, flat bills, and moon boots are just 3 things from the 80s that need to stay in the 80s.
Moon boots.
Flat bills, I think, have crossed over.
Moon boots. What's a moon boot? Is this like a stocking? No.
Snow boots.
No. God, no.
They're
Absolutely
very,
not.
very popular.
Moon boots, not steezy.
It depends on who's wearing them and what they wear them with, because they become stylish now that
Hey.
they don't put them on the feet of kids that have to go out and walk 5 miles in snow to school.
What happened
Like
to
yours truly.
those rubber shoes? Do you remember those big red rubber shoes?
Crocs?
No, Crocs are cool.
Bozo's shoes?
No, like Travis Scott was wearing them. They look like cartoonish big old red rubber boots. You know what I'm talking about. You saw it was a big trend for a good 2 months.
You mean like the first LeBron James shoe that looked like a work boot?
No,
Oh.
no, not the first LeBron. By the way, LeBron James shoes have just gotten higher and higher, more toward the ankle, just because he's become older and older and needs more ankle support. It's incredible. These things, you remember these?
Yeah, I don't know what happened to those. Those are the new version of moon boots.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they were Those were cool. I was a fan of that.
Yeah. Okay.
They're $350.
Well, you have a celebrity that puts their name on them. All of a sudden, a shoe goes from being 40 to $240.
Yeah, no, thank you.
So the Phil Steele magazine is out, and I can't wait for Brett and Phil to battle against who is the most accurate. Phil Steele makes a lot of predictions.
He does.
He doesn't have a segment in his follow-up where Phil was right, where Phil was wrong. I'm telling you, it's intense. Like the battle between like Ciancia and Steele on who's the most accurate.
That and like I said, bracketology people too. I love how intense it gets.
But Brett's getting in there. Like more coaches are talking to Brett, and we will talk to Brett when he gets back from vacation. But Phil Steele is out, and there's more positive things in the Phil Steele magazine than negative ones. And part of his Nebraska preview, and he's high on Nebraska.
He
is I think it's very lazy. And this is the first time I said this. I think it's very lazy just to assume that Matt Rule is going to be better in year 3.
So that's
a part of his whole thing is about Temple, Baylor, year 3, boom, it pops. Okay. If we are saying that Nebraska is similar to Temple and Baylor,
they're not.
Just plant corn in the stadium, take all the money you make from the crops over the next couple of years, and then go out and buy a brand new team. I think it is completely lazy just to say, hey, year 3, it's going to pop because it's popped at the other 2 places. I've seen Temple, I've seen Baylor. They're not created like Nebraska. Nebraska is a whole different beast. But here's why. I think it's lazy to go, it's just year number 3, and this is what he's done here in year 3, and this is what's going to happen in Nebraska. This is what you have to do. And this is why I think year 3 will be the year that Nebraska pops. And if they pop, then it blows up. If they don't pop, then it just crumbles. But I look at action and efforts, and I wish he would have gotten more into not just comparing, hey, at Temple, they had year number 2, they were close in a couple of games, and then no. Why don't you tell me what actions and efforts that you did in the offseason to correct mistakes that you learned in year 1 and year 2 that will lead to a successful year number 3? That's what was missing here. Instead of just the easy, lazy, it's year 3, that's what Matt Rule does.
This is the quote. This year, they have 5 Big Ten home games. In Matt Rule's third year at Baylor, they went 11-3. And in his third year at Temple, they went 10-4. Big exclamation point. It has been 13 years since the Huskers have had a double-digit win season, but this is Rule's best team, and they are capable of getting there. It doesn't, if I'm being honest with you, doesn't really tell me a whole lot. It just tells me, it should be his best team. This should be his best team because he's been building this roster and he's been adding all this talent. And the last 2 teams have gone 5-7 and 6-6.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope it's his best team. I get it, Phil. It's his best team. Not that high of a bar to clear.
No, I mean, in year 3, Scott Frost went 3-9 and Mike Riley went 4-8. Now I take out the COVID year.
Sure.
So, but
it
could happen, but if that happened around here, it won't.
I was kind of hoping though for so in this preview, he goes back and he does a lot of revisionist history. Like there's a lot of 2020, not revisionist history, but there's a lot of like 2022 and 2023 and what happened and like how did how is this happen?
So I'm going to say I think Phil Steele is a little butthurt by Scott Frost didn't pan out for him. He went out on a limb about Scott Frost in his magazines, and then it didn't happen. And so I think last year he held that against Nebraska in his preview. Just my observation that he kind of made it personal.
I mean, I just don't think that this is much of like a projection, if I'm being honest with you. Like he doesn't really mention, hey, like he mentions in the defense, hey, they've lost a really good defensive line. Okay, like they lost their D-line, but he doesn't bring up the fact that, hey, the secondary has a lot of talent and things that they can bring along. He doesn't bring up, hey, they added some really good linebacker transfer portal additions that might make up for the lack of what might be in the defensive line.
Which is a little odd because he is big on returning experience, and Nebraska has his top 5 in terms of returning experience.
He doesn't even bring up John Butler. He doesn't bring up that they have a new DC, right? He goes, this year they lose their scud DTs, 5 of their starters, and their DC. But Rule will field another solid defense. How? Like, what's the proof there, right? That's kind of what I'm like looking for. Like, what is the
what's the put together? Is it just because Matt Rule just always puts together really good defenses that he's going to put together another really good defense?
Now, I wouldn't blame Phil if he said that because that's actually kind of true.
No, it is.
The defense under Rule has never cratered. Like, have they been at the top? No. But they've never been so bad that you're going, well, offense going to have to score 35 today because I believe that 4 touchdowns and a field goal is what you're working against.
I don't think that.
So if he said that,
sure
that one I wouldn't get upset about.
But I don't think that is going to be the case. I don't think Nebraska is going to get to a point where they have to score 35 points in order to win a game, like consistently, like every game. It's a race to 35.
Feel that way, though.
I don't think the defense is going to be that great. I really don't. I think when this defense was playing its absolute best, and I always go back to that Ohio State game at the Shoe, the D-line was electric. The D-line was great. They were getting to Howard whenever they wanted to. Mm-hmm. And when Ohio State made the run at the end of the game and ended up winning that game, they were able to hold up that D-line, and that offensive line played better. The defense was at its best when the D-line was great. Look at the Colorado game, too. Same exact thing. You are losing your strength of last year's team that clearly made the defense go. You've lost it. And you're replacing it with guys who I think are very talented, but are not nearly as good as Ty Robinson and Nash Hutmaker are right now. Could Cam Lenhart and Riley Van Poppel get better? Yes. But right now, to begin the year, they're not even close. So I'm very worried. Especially with the fact that you don't have bigger linebackers either that could very easily get swallowed up by offensive line. So I don't think it's going to be you got to score 35 points a game, but I don't think it's too far off. Like I do think the offense is going to have to carry this team at certain points because they've invested so much in it. I mean, they've invested so much in Dylan and so much in the wide receiver core and so much in Dana. And so,
couldn't you make the case? And I'm not disagreeing with you because you're absolutely right. But they've also invested on defense.
They have, and I'm not saying that they haven't invested on defense. But if we're weighing out where is more in the investment here, right? It definitely has been getting Dane Key, getting Isaiah Hunter, getting Rocco Spindler, making sure that Dana Holgerson is around to have, to keep Dylan around and like develop him and whatnot. And then also too, just what you're giving to Dylan as well. I'm not disparaging, or I'm not saying that they should have invested more in the defense.
I think they did a good job investing on both sides. I think there is more known with a couple of guys on offense that they invested in. I think there's no equivalent to Dane Key on the defensive side of the ball right now.
No.
Somebody that's had that production at another stop, and you would expect that production to be better because he has a better quarterback than he had last year.
Same thing with Spindler. Same exact thing with Spindler. And you can also say to a certain degree Hunter as well, where Jalen George, who, wasn't able to play in the spring, which was disappointing, and he was hurt. He's going to have to be pretty good, but he is not of the ilk of Rocco Spindler was. Deshaun McCullough, I think, could end up being an X factor for this team. He still very much, though, is a mystery in terms of what position. I mean, he's going to be a linebacker now. He's going to, not going to be a safety anymore like he was in Oklahoma, but there still is a mystery of, like, can he come and produce at a high level? I don't think you have that mystery with Dane Key. But I have zero issue with the offense carrying the defense or the offense being the one winning all the games. I don't give a damn. I don't give a damn who's carrying who, if I'm being honest. I do worry a lot about the D-line. I worry a ton that they just...
But let me go back to something you said last week. Because we were talking about the Cincinnati game. And you said, I wouldn't have a problem if the offense was still trying to figure it out opening day.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Because if that conversation was this. If I were to have my choice of in Cincinnati, the offense playing great or the defense playing great, I would have the defense play great.
But you said if the offense struggles a little bit, it's okay. Because they're getting to know each other.
I have more trust in the offense that they could steer things on the right path if they have a shaky game against Cincinnati, as I do compared to the defense. Because I already think the defense is going to be shaky. I already am nervous about the defense. So if the defense comes out and plays really well.
Defense as a whole, or just one aspect being defensive line? Which
it's a defense as a whole because of that one aspect. I think the defensive line is the most important group of position players in defense in general. And when that is your whole, and that is something that we're worrying about, that makes me worry about everything else in terms of the defense. So
you think they'll rush the passer better? They have more
No,
natural pass rushers this year?
I don't know.
Cam Lenhart will play more than
But
44 snaps in a game.
24 and a half sacks have left this roster.
Yeah.
And you don't have anyone on this current defense where you know that, hey, they've gotten 6, 7, 8 sacks before, where they've had that production. Everything on that D line is potential. It's not production. It's not high level production. It's not the production where, Cam Lenhart's going to get drafted or Van Poppel's going to get drafted. Or they're going to make an all Big Ten team. It's all hypothetical, which scares the crap out of me. If you told me right now, Matt, you could switch the state of the secondary with the state of the defensive line, I would do it right now.
Oh, in a heartbeat.
In a heartbeat.
The secondary will find its way.
The secondary will be
Secondary is deeper than it's been in a while.
It's deep. They need a stud though, and I think that they could have a stud with Donovan Jones, and they could have a stud with Sierra Wright, and we'll see what happens with Andrew Marshall. And know that people were excited about him, and I know that he's dynamic in the punt return and the kick return game, which we still have to figure that out too. I'm happy with the secondary. They just need a stud. I'm not saying Will Johnson, but they need a stud.
Isn't Sierra Wright that?
I think once again, Sierra Wright was good, okay, but it definitely wasn't. It wasn't game 1 to game 12, and it in part because he didn't get that an opportunity the entirety of the year to prove that. For me to be like Sierra Wright is an all Big Ten cornerback, $1,000,000%, I can trust him. He needs to do that over a 12-game stretch, and he's already done that over kind of a 5-6 game stretch at the end of the year. So I think he could be. I'm like I said, confident in the secondary, and I think the linebackers though do get affected by the potential weakness of the defensive line, which I like Marquise Watson-Trent. I don't know if I like his chances against a 6'6" pulling guard. It's tough. So, but I think that all this to say, the Phil Steele, hey, Matt Rule's always had good defenses and Matt Rule has always been good in the third year. That's not selling me anything. Like I'm not buying more Nebraska stock after.
That's why I think it's a lazy narrative. Yeah, he does have a history of being better in year 3, but tell me why.
You can make an argument that this team is built more so like year 2 at Baylor than it is built for year 3 at Baylor. Because year two at Baylor was a lot more of like sophomores and a lot younger guys and dudes who were freshmen and had to take their lumps, and then the next year they got the full roles and they were able to grow into them. This year is kind of like that.
Well, I think the one thing they've done in the offseason is, and we'll see if Rule's game management still is an issue. I think he's done more to help them off the field win games than the actual guys that play between the lines.
Yeah.
On the sidelines, they've done more to increase the war than I think they have in between the white lines. But that's not to say they haven't done anything.
Sure.
I think what will help them this year is what they have on headsets. Headsets greater than helmets. Next year would be the year where we don't talk about headsets. All we talk about is helmets. We talk about the Jimmies and the Joes. But he's done a better job of ensuring that you're not going to have the WTF, Jekyll and Hyde, offensive play calling, defensive play calling, special teams. He's done and I go back to this, action and effort is what will dictate year 3 from year 2 to year 3. And I think that's with the headsets. He's done a better job of that. That will in turn help them win maybe 2 more games. And if that's the case, then you're sitting at 9.
The on-the-field merit in terms of coaching is so much higher this year than it was last year. From special teams coordinator to offensive coordinator, I think. I love Tony White, so I don't. We got to see what Butler does. I'm not going to call Butler a downgrade or an upgrade or anything like that. I think John Butler's a very smart guy, but just in those 2 positions, a lot of OC and special teams, like you say, Mike Eckler might count for 1 win above replacement, and this season is really all about play well enough so you can continue to build momentum heading into 2026 and continue to build momentum for the recruiting classes in the future. And Mike Eckler could literally be the difference of that.
All right, a little bit later, Adrien Dao, athletic director at Omaha. I'll explain why Omaha opted out. This is the day that if you have not made it public, you make it public if you're a public school. And then midnight hits, and college athletics changes forever.
It's like the reverse Cinderella.
That's coming up a little bit later. I'm Gary Matt on 1620 The Zone. Isn't it amazing when you think about, because we're just going through the old Phil Steeler during the break.
In my computer, it's a lot of every sentence, every preview begins with "in my computer." Last year, I predicted them to be this, and then I was 0.2 off.
Brett is one of the unfortunate things that have happened to Phil Steele.
Brett Ciancia is.
Because if you compare like breakdowns and stuff,
I think,
and also now to Phil's credit, he does all of FBS.
He does.
Brett just does the Power 4 teams, but we'll do some compare and contrast.
Well, we definitely will.
But looking here, isn't it amazing that when ESPN had the rights to the Big Ten, because Feinbaum, I noticed this morning, is going off on Bielema again. That's awesome. Bielema is under their skin.
I love it.
Okay, he beat South Carolina. He won 10 games. He's sticking it to him. He's calling out their quarterback who called out the Big Ten. Somebody in the Big Ten, thank God, is standing up to the SEC.
For the Big Ten.
You know what? We have our Lane Kiffin. We also have our Ed Orgeron. Coaches that like to be shirtless. So
Brett Bielema's Midwestern Lane Kiffin.
So, but no, you never get the top coaches like Ryan Day and Kirby Smart.
They don't
go all in.
No, they don't.
Because they don't have to.
They care about them.
You leave it to the middle of the pack guys to stir the pot. And so Bielema is stirring it up. And I noticed Feinbaum today is upset at Bielema. And now is trying to find everything to poke holes in Illinois. You know what? Shut up. But isn't it crazy how ESPN never went out of their way to promote the Big Ten?
No.
Like when they had the rights, and it was right there with two major brands that they simply ignored them. And Fox doesn't have the programming throughout the day to be Big Ten U.
Yeah.
But when you get on their pregame show, or of course all the Big Ten games they do, they are pro Big Ten.
They are.
It's weird how ESPN wasn't interested in leaning into the relationship with the Big Ten, but now that it's all SEC, you get it, and it's turned people off.
Well, I found it very peculiar when they were doing the college football playoff advertisements on ESPN. Mm-hmm. What were the team highlights that you were seeing? It was SEC teams, it was ACC teams, it was LSU, it was Alabama, it was Miami. You didn't see, Will Howard throwing the ball in the end zone to Jeremiah Smith. You didn't see like the Big Ten being advertised for the college football playoff. It was, and that matters. Like that kind of matters because it's like they're showing you like, oh, these are the teams that could definitely be competing in the college football playoff, and not one Big Ten team was on there.
I did think though that when the Big Ten left ESPN, I'm like, it'd be nice to have, especially for basketball.
Yeah,
but they've won 2 straight national titles, right, on Fox.
Well, it hasn't affected the play, and it hasn't affected the fact that the Big Ten has just been better.
But
last 2 seasons.
I thought you kind of needed ESPN, and I was wrong.
I give them a lot of crap. They still have that engine. Like they still have that. Like, man, you want that engine behind
Unfortunately,
you.
they drive the conversation.
They drive the narrative, and I think it was. And I know we're going to a different sport here, but it was very apparent to me that was the case when the NHL playoffs were on TNT. Or the Stanley Cup play or the Stanley Cup final was on TNT. Because if ESPN had the Stanley Cup final, that it would be on the ticker and it would be about the conversation, and they would have PK on and First Take in Block A, and they'd be talking about the legacy of Connor McDavid or whatever. And because it was on TNT, they were like, oh, we're not going to touch it. And that's, I think, part of the reason why you didn't get as much interest in the Stanley Cup playoff.
I give credit to ESPN this year because they did talk about hockey.
They did.
When they didn't have it. Like, Sports Center, because Van Pelt, when he would be on, PK would be on, McAfee talked about. So they did compared to the past when they didn't even have any rights.
Yes.
But I don't think it's an ESPN not promoting it is because the ratings were down. I think they did a better job than previous years of, we don't have it. We're not sending you to the game, but we're not going to completely ignore it. It's just, you had a brand that I don't know why they never promoted. Like they were always... I know they were a little turned off that Delaney went with the Big Ten network, but you had it on your network. You don't think the Big Ten was making money for ESPN?
But I think that the ESPN thought they were treated better by the SEC, and that the ESPN said, "Hey, we like these guys better. We're going to promote them better. We're going to be on. We're going to be on the horn for them. We're going to be saying that these guys." I mean, it was crazy to me during that. I'll never forget that the CFP selection show. When they have all these guys coming up saying Alabama should have gotten in and using the arguments to try and get a 3-loss Alabama in, where you had, let's be honest here, like I understand that Alabama had some really good wins, but there also was a 3-loss Big Ten team in Illinois that was there that had a better loss than Vanderbilt and Oklahoma and Minnesota. If you're comparing losses, Illinois had much better losses than Alabama. Yet you had them all banging the glass, being like, "Oh my God, this should have been a South Carolina, Miami, Alabama spot." They didn't even mention Illinois until Illinois went and they kicked South Carolina's ass. And now you got Brett Bielema, who's rubbing it in, who should be rubbing it in.
Now get ready, because the SEC and the Big Ten don't see eye to eye on the future of the playoff. This will be fun. Will they come to a compromise?
I mean, they have to.
Will it be like a shootout at the OK Corral?
Who do you
Bielema against Kiffin?
Who do you believe in more? Do you believe in Sankey or do you believe in Petiti more? I think I believe in Sankey more, if I'm being honest with you.
Well, I believe in the 4 + 4 + 2 + 2 + 1 and 3. That's what I believe in. I think that's best for Nebraska.
Is that
and
best
I think it's best for the fans of Nebraska.
Well, it is for sure best for. It's best if you're in the Big Ten and the SEC. I still don't understand why, if you're in the Big Ten and the SEC, you're not clamoring for a 4 + 4. I mean, that is the best way for you to get into the playoff.
Well,
especially if they do this, you just have to come in 6th place to play a game to potentially get into the playoff, which that is kind of crazy to me.
Well, if they do, then I will be able to sell my new hat.
What's your new hat?
You got your mega hat, right? I have my MNCMM hat.
I do not have a MAGA hat, by the way. Make America Nebraska again?
MNCMM.
Oh, okay. I'm not even close. That sounds like part of the,
Make non-conference matchups matter. I will wear that hat. I will sell it.
I mean, I will say
with
this
the
though.
run the damn ball guy hat.
To be fair, and I don't. This might be a bad take. I don't care though. When you have the Pac-12 joining the Big Ten, and you have the biggest parts of the Big 12 joining the SEC, you're now essentially adding the non-con games to your con schedule. Like Nebraska playing Washington essentially is like a non-con game, in a sense.
Whatever these requirements are, and I think SEC, you got to get to 9 before we can start talking at the table.
Not even close.
But if you're not going to go to 9, then you're required to play 10 Power 4 games a year.
I love that idea. I also too it's funny when we do the whole comparing the wins and this team has had this amount of wins. Nebraska would be better off if they were also playing Mercer in week 10 of the season.
Well, that's why they're playing Houston Christian in the MAC.
But isn't that kind of
non-conference matchups matter?
I would love to talk to an SEC coach and be like, why is it so important that you play these terrible teams later in the season? Because isn't that kind of already baked into how you're evaluated by your athletic director?
Mm-hmm.
Your athletic director already knows that, hey, you have 4 guaranteed wins already if you're not being competitive in the non-con. It doesn't make sense to me that they are still no, we have to be able to play Lafayette in week 10.
I think Petiti is on Joel Klatt's podcast today.
That'll be interesting.
He hasn't spoken publicly much over the last 2 months.
Oh, he's let Sankey do all the work.
Will he be a 4-4-2-2-1-3 guy?
I think he'll be a non-answer guy, probably.
All right. Hour number 3 coming up next. All right, welcome back in. Some good Pearl Jam on a Monday morning, final day of June. The dog days of sports for a couple of more weeks.
Kyle, turn the TikTok camera on.
It'll be a short week. We are off on Friday for the 4th of July.
Yes.
So just 4 days of shows. You said you'd be going home to Chicago.
I will be.
When you're at home in Chicago, will you tell people that part of Chicago is directly north of part of Florida?
No, I will not be saying that. What? Wait, say that again? What? I'm confused.
Did you know that part of Chicago is directly north of a western part of Florida?
What part of Chicago is that?
The far eastern side of Chicago is directly north of Florida.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Did you guys also know this? So you can tell I've been around my Floridians.
I'm not putting this together very well right now.
Okay, get a map.
Okay.
Okay. Bring up a map of the United States.
Okay.
Because I'm about to blow your mind with another thing.
Okay. Map of America. Let me pull up the images. I'm actually, by the way, there are some shocking videos on TikTok of people who can't name all 50 states by looking at a map.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy to me that is the case. I mean, you've grown up looking at a map your entire life. How do you not know?
Never
that is
underestimate the
Colorado?
stupidity of people.
You know what, Jimmy? Social media has shown that to me.
Mhm.
It's. I just in general about social media, we know too
The
much.
lowest
about people.
common denominator.
We know way too. I don't need to know that much about your life in general, unless I'm a very good friend of yours.
So I
Then
avoid
want
the
to.
app most of the time.
But most of these people on Twitter and Instagram, I don't care. I don't need to know all that much. I have a map. It's opened up.
Okay. If you go straight south from Chicago
Okay.
towards the Gulf of America,
Yeah. Okay. I'm there.
Straight south.
I'm there.
What are you going to hit?
Mississippi.
No, straight south.
Straight south.
You're gonna-
I hit the Panhandle.
Mm-hmm.
I do hit the Panhandle.
There's
I go
part of
straight.
Florida
Shout out Destin.
that is directly north is Chicago.
Okay.
Now, would you like another one that's going to blow people away?
Sure. Go ahead.
Do you know there is a part of Florida and a part of Oregon that are only one time zone apart?
A part of Florida and a part of Oregon that's one time zone apart? No. What part of Oregon is one time? So what? Part of Oregon's in mountain time?
Mm-hmm. There is a little sliver that is in the mountain time zone. Then you have that part of Florida, which is in the central time zone.
Is that the sliver that's like hugging Idaho? You know, Oregon kind of hugs
Mhm.
Idaho a little bit. Which, by the way, Idaho, really like on the east, you know, we have some weird shaped states on
Yeah.
the eastern seaboard. Okay. And then obviously, as we went more west, we definitely got more linear in terms of squares, right? We're like a lot of these states are just squares because we're like, we don't need all this mumbo jumbo. I need to know the history of Idaho as a state. Why is it shaped the way it's really weirdly shaped? Like, why do they just have like a tin hat that is like just popping out of the state like
Well, as
that?
you can see, as the states moved from the eastern seaboard and
Yes.
we moved west, they kind of gave up on.
They got lazy.
Yeah.
They got really, like, if I'm being honest with you, Nebraska and Oklahoma are like the two last creative states on the western part of the map. Like, we got creative with our panhandle and our little curve. And Oklahoma, they got their little panhandle like that. They got creative. Once we got to Colorado, they're just like, they squared it up, except for Idaho. Montana is seeping into Idaho too. Did Idaho and Montana, there's got to be some history there between those two states that I definitely don't know anything about.
There could be some raucous games that have happened to the Kibbe Dome. Idaho is a very beautiful area. I've been both on both borders, and then I've been in the middle of the state. It's a beautiful area.
Of Idaho?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Pocatello's beautiful. I mean, so is Boise.
I've never. Isn't
Boise is very underrated. Former home of Frank Solich.
Isn't there?
Moved back to Lincoln.
Isn't Idaho? Don't they have a? You know what?
Potatoes?
No. You
Lots
know
of
what?
potatoes.
I'm gonna hold my tongue.
Look at all
I'm gonna-
babies growing
I'm
up.
gonna hold my tongue.
I was starting to
There you
smell what
go.
you were cooking, and
No, we were going down the path.
the answer is probably yes.
No, the answer probably is no. Lake Tahoe in Utah. Where's Lake Tahoe at?
You're close.
Nevada. Okay.
Same
I
time
knew
zone.
it was in the Utah, Nevada, Idaho
Actually,
area.
no.
Isn't there a nice lake though in Idaho? Like there's a really, really like known nice like area to summer vacay in Idaho.
Is it more of a river?
Coeur d'Alene. That's the only one I
I
know.
don't know. I think I don't think so.
I don't know. I want
I
fries.
feel
now.
like that.
Where's the Snake River?
Arizona. I believe.
the snake.
Okay.
That would be an
That's where the
Yeah.
aliens abducted those dudes in the 70s that they made into a movie.
See, that's a movie I should watch.
Fire in the Sky. Very good.
I think I want to watch Con Air at some point.
Hey, it's one of the best, worst movies of all time.
See that, like the fact
John
that
Malkovich makes it worth it. That might be it.
the fact that Connor, it's one of the like 5 movies Connor Happer loves, just makes me want to watch it even more. I also found out there was a
Interesting.
Meet the Parents. I didn't know Meet the Parents was a movie, but I knew Meet the Fockers was a movie.
Wow.
I didn't know there was
This whole world, like you're a little baby boy that's come out of the womb and you're experiencing everything.
I've just very much been in like my cocoon of my own pop culture. Like I very much have like protected myself from like I've been around
He
people who
sings
only
a song
really know
about
what
a
I
thong
know
for 3
until
minutes.
until I've come out into this world and I've realized that I really don't know as much about music or movies as I need to know. So I'm learning, which is why the month of July, Matt McMovies. We're watching movies. And then we need football.
It'll be here. You can
We
watch
will
football
have
movies.
football in July.
You should watch
Oh,
a program.
I am unrealistically excited for the Hall of Fame game.
Well, we're about
Like-
3 weeks from training camp opening up in
We
St.
are.
Joe.
I am so excited.
First hit.
All right,
so
5
excited.
o'clock today, Clyde and Puma will announce where he's going to go to school. He pushed back his announcement a day. So at 5 o'clock today, the offensive tackle, who is number 12 overall offensive tackle in the country, according to On3, 127th overall player. Nebraska got the last visit. There's a lot of crystal balls for him. Schaefer came on here the other day and asked him about why is Ole Miss, or Auburn, excuse me. Auburn and Nebraska, the front runners, and he said NIL. So we will find out today at 5 o'clock. I think everything is trending towards Nebraska, but until there is a fake hat ceremony, we will not know. This would be a monster pickup for Nebraska that in a small class could lead to a big number in the 27 class. This would be a huge pickup for Nebraska.
Massive get for
5 o'clock today, he will announce where he's going to go to school. That'd be a nice way to finish June because I don't think Devin Jackson, who's the defensive back who Nebraska is involved in, July 3rd, I think he'll probably say Oregon.
Mhm.
Daron Jones right here in Omaha, July 4th is when he's going to announce between essentially Iowa and Nebraska. Noyle, the offensive lineman from New Orleans, I don't think he has a specific date, but I would like to do it soon.
Okay.
Nebraska is in the mix with Mississippi State and Baylor, but I think Nebraska feels good where they're at. Am I leaving anybody else out that is like in the next week will announce where they're going to go to school? Larry Miles at some point will announce he's coming to Nebraska.
I was going to say that. That was the only other one. I very loosely follow recruiting. I am not up in the know like you
have
are.
Not got into recruiting?
I'm into it. I know what's going on.
I will tell you, I've re-engaged. The month of June in college football.
Yeah.
First of all, old school still works. Like relationships, are big. I also get like Michigan had a heater of a weekend where Michigan has a deep-pocketed booster who is bragging about the money they have spent, and Michigan may have another top 10 class. Okay, but I just have noticed more, and maybe because there's so much more emphasis on June, and there's a lot more players that are not waiting, and they're announcing in June where they're going to go to school. High school football recruiting this month has been off the charts. Like it's banger after banger. Like it's 5-star, it's a flip, it's a 4-star. It's all over the place, and it's been more aggressive. And I think we're getting daily like big announcements from top prospects than I can ever recall. So I have like re-engaged, not just with Nebraska's recruiting, which I've always been interested in, like nationally, and saying, man, if you're not recruiting, you're going to get left behind. I don't care if there's a portal and you got cash. If you're not high school football recruiting, and I'm against giving a lot of money to an unproven high school kid. I like the relationships, but if you're not recruiting the high school ranks and you're not doing it well, you're going to be in trouble.
This has been, I know we got very worried about the future of high school recruiting. And there was a lot of people who were banging on the table saying, why would you go and get an 18-year-old in high school recruiting if you can just go in the portal and get a 22-year-old and get a guy who's played a lot of football? And I think that there are teams, now granted, the loading up of NIL money has had a lot to do with some of these surges, USC in particular.
Yeah. which is ridiculous. I think you are only asking for trouble.
Oh, by
if you
front
are
loading the money?
Well, not front loading.
Sure.
I'm talking about giving a high school kid a large bag before he's ever played in college. What that is, if you have to do that to secure a commitment, I mean, eventually it's going to come back to get you, because you got to remember, I want to take care of the guys that are already inside of my program. I'm in reward and retention.
Yes.
Now, once in a while, you got to play that game. And
You
if
have
you want
so
somebody,
there you go.
If your evaluation is good enough that you realize that a kid is going to be a difference maker, and you have to play that game,
there's
I'd be willing to dabble there a little bit, but not what USC is doing with high school kids, where they are guaranteeing a large amount of money because you're only asking for trouble down the road.
Sometimes you do have to make that move, and some people might say that move is desperate, but if you truly believe in that prospect, I don't think it's a desperate move. I think if you're giving a high school prospect a ton of money, but you're like, no, we're planting our flag on this guy, that's totally fine.
Yeah, because if you whether it be your current roster or somebody that's coming to your school, if you make a bad deal in terms of what you allocate for them, you're going to be in trouble down the road.
Well, the locker room dynamics too.
Well, but but then going back to your current roster, that's why another aspect of your off the field staff, your general manager has to be on point on how they're going to distribute the money, what positions they're going to prioritize, and they're not throwing away bad money, because a bad deal of paying a player a substantial amount and they don't amount to much, that's going to set you back.
Well, and
so that general manager, the Pat Stewarts of the world, are going to have even more importance moving forward.
Well, this is also too, now we are fully getting into the NFL and pro aspect in college sports, because they're really used to, let's just be honest, bad deals in college football didn't really happen that often in terms of and if they did happen, no one's announcing, hey, we gave this guy a bunch of money under the table and it went south, because that's how you get punished. So it's like, if you missed, you go, okay, let's go and get the next one. This guy didn't work out. Now it's, if you miss, you're kind of locked up. You still have to pay him. And that does hinder your ability to go out and get another guy, which is what we see in pro sports, which is why, I think so too, being creative with NIL and being creative with businesses and getting those deals is going to be so important, not necessarily just because you get more talent, but also the flexibility. Yeah. The more flexibility you can give yourself to make mistakes, because you are going to make mistakes, the better off you're going to be, which is, this is back to the MLB. The Yankees can afford to have a bad signing. The Mets can afford to have a bad signing. The Dodgers can afford to have a bad signing. The Brewers, the A's, these lesser, smaller market teams with lower payroll budgets, they can't afford to have bad moves because that hinders them. It's the same thing in college sports now. But zigging when zagging is, I think, a big deal for now how you recruit. If you, hey, we're gonna dip heavy here in high school recruiting while a lot of people are going in the portal. Oh, hey, now people are getting too old. They need to go in high school recruit. Now we're going to go into the portal and we're going to try and get value here. And so I think that'll be important as well.
The Big Ten is having a great year recruiting.
Minnesota's been killing it too. I've seen that they've gotten a couple 4 stars and 5 stars. Granted, loosely following it, but
the Big Ten. The best thing that happened to the Big Ten was NIL, and now this, because the playing field is leveled, and so your ability to compete on the recruiting trail with the top of the SEC, that has started to even out, and you don't have to be in Tier 1. You can be in Tier 2, and you at least have a chance if you are going against the SEC. Thus, look at the Big Ten. The Big Ten is making up ground on the SEC, back-to-back years of national championships. And again, schools that adapt, and I look at Georgia. Georgia had a really good month of June, and Georgia, they stuck out their chest and they said, "We're still Georgia." Look at guys they flipped. But I can't recall a month of June like we just had in college football, where it's been so fierce, and top prospects aren't waiting until the fall. I think June has become the month for high school football recruiting, and I think, not the on-campus visits.
I think that's great. I think that kind of doesn't that fit into a schedule in a sense?
Coaches hate it.
Okay, because is that when they take the vacations?
Well, June has been nonstop for 30 days.
I do think, though, it would be good for the sport in general to be like, hey, this is the month that you're going to go and you're going to get a lot of your free agents. Like, that is a big thing with the pro leagues. For me, and now this day means less than what it used to, but the first day of NBA free agency growing up was always a big deal. Hey, like I remember the ESPN specials. We're going to sit you in front. We're going to have all of our guys. We're going to cut to Woj. He's going to be tweeting, oh my God, we have this deal and this deal. We're reacting. This Al Horford's a 76er. What a deal. Like that was exciting. I think for college football, that'd be great too. Where it's like, hey, this is kind of the period of like, all right, tune it up, get excited, do a special. Why not? That'd be fun. It's almost like we did it with National Signing Day in December.
Yeah, and then unfortunately, NBA free agency today will be a.
Yeah, what happened if this was going to be the most exciting and most thrilling and extravagant NBA free agency?
You had Randall and you had Harden and you had LeBron.
Yeah, I'm.
But we got DeAndre
I'm
Ayton.
sick and tired.
What's
of
DeAndre
LeBron.
Ayton's going to do
Who
today?
gives a damn about DeAndre?
Let's go Lakers.
I love LeBron.
Giddey leaving the Bulls?
No, God, I hope no. I want him to stay. We trade Alonzo. What if? If he never gets hurt, they were first in the East before he got hurt.
You know what?
I'm just saying they were first in the East.
Your NBA franchise is like insurance. All costs, no return. A little bit later, Adrien Dao, athletic director at Omaha, joins us on the top of the hour, 1620 The Zone. right, there will be a interesting, it's June 30th, we need a quarterback discussion in college football. If you missed it over the weekend, BYU quarterback Jake Retzlaff is expecting a multi-game suspension, the honor code, a violation at BYU. It's looking at 7 games.
Hey, but congrats.
Yeah.
Jimmy.
It's part of a civil lawsuit. So he has told everybody that he is going to transfer 7 games for premarital sex, huh?
Yeah.
You know, at Utah, they say you can do that all the time.
Well, there's a dynamic at BYU.
University of Utah.
BYU got number 1 player in basketball.
Yeah.
And if you saw him in the under 19 this weekend, next year's draft class is going to be really good. Then they just got a 5-star quarterback from Sacramento who will not start at BYU because he's going to go on his mission for the first 2 years. So if you are BYU, and if you know anybody that has gone to school there or is involved in the school, they take great pride in how it's different, and it's the Mormon faith, and they do have the honor code is the honor code, and they don't stretch the rules, regardless if you're an athlete or not.
I kind of respect that.
But you just lost your quarterback. He is going to be, if he stays.
I hope he goes to Utah.
Well, he's leaving. That would be like.
Oh yeah,
that'd be the thing to do. But here's the question: so,
how many games would you have been suspended for in college?
If I would have never gone to BYU. I mean, if
shout out Lavelle.
If you are a supporter of BYU, I wonder how you feel about this, because the honor code is BYU. And somebody violated your honor code. I don't care if he's a quarterback or not. Or are you like, you know what? How are we supposed to win? Well, 97% of your roster is, or 3% of your roster is not Mormon.
Yeah.
Okay. So the honor code and all that stuff is all new to them, but they know it coming in. With that said,
they do know coming in.
So Jake Retzlaff, who could probably start at quite a few places around the country, but if you are in search of a quarterback and it's July 1, maybe you don't have a quarterback.
I was about to say.
He's got allegations hanging over him, and you'd have to explain it probably a little bit on the PR. Will he be somebody that'll be popular on the transfer market beginning today?
Hell yes, I would. Long as everything's on the up and up and there's no sinister stuff beyond that, but we don't know all that.
So
details.
There you go, Jimmy. Like it is totally dependent on the severity and legality of the situation.
It was just consensual boot knocking.
If it's cleared, like if he's cleared, I'm like, this is a really interesting year for college football in terms of quarterbacks. Because there is a lot of, we think Arch Manning's going to be really, really good. We think Julian Sayin is going to be really, really good. Lagway, Raiola, like Dante Moore. Like there is a healthy amount. Jackson Arnold for Auburn, Mateer. I mean, Sellers to a certain degree. Like there is a.
So those places don't need a quarterback.
They don't need a quarterback. But what I'm saying in general is those are probably the best. You would say top group, right? I just kind of named some of the top tier of quarterbacks that you would say. Yeah, Klubnik's in there. Well, so that's the thing. I know what I got with Klubnik. I named a lot of quarterbacks that you would put toward the top tier in their conferences, and you really don't know. There's a lot of like, man, I don't know. And that's at the upper tier of college football. So I think there are a lot of teams that probably could use a guy like him.
But none of those programs you just mentioned.
None of those programs.
No, they already have their quarterback.
But what I'm saying is why naming those quarterbacks, those are a top crop of quarterbacks, and yet we don't really know for sure if those guys are going to be great. I think
but those schools don't need a quarterback, though.
No, they don't.
No, so this is the discussions about Retzlaff trying to find a home. He's not going to South Carolina and beating out Sellers. He's not coming to Nebraska. If you would be able to take a flyer on him, again, because so it is, that's a civil lawsuit that was filed in May. He's accused of sexually assaulting a woman identified as Jane Doe at his home in November of 23. Through his attorney, Retzlaff immediately denied the sexual assault allegations. He said that he had consensual sex with a woman who has accused him of assaulting her. Now, you cannot do that under the honor code of BYU. Soaking is, you can look it up.
Right.
You'll get to know what that is. But the
education.
But the code at BYU, which is
the code,
can be strict.
Yeah.
But if you're in that faith, you know, prohibits premarital sex and instructs students to live a chastity and virtuous life. So he can play quarterback. I mean, we've seen that. He could play quarterback in college.
Here's one.
They were. What did BYU? Were they 11-2?
They're good. Yeah.
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 So
They lost a big game
beat-
late in the year.
Beat the brakes off of Colorado in
um,
that bowl game.
So he's now going to be out there. Like, what
Mhm.
about Tennessee?
How about Michigan? Hypothetically, let's throw it
Mhm.
out here, right? You take if nobody else is interested in him, you take a flyer on him. You figure out the situation, right? This is all assuming that, the legalities are figured out. I think Michigan should be interested in him just in case Bryce Underwood isn't ready to go or Bryce Underwood isn't the guy. Or maybe if you're going through.
Did they just add a junior college
They did.
quarterback?
Jake Garcia. I
And then
believe
they
is his
have
name.
Mikey Keene.
Yeah. Like they just added a quarterback a little bit ago. You have a very solid quarterback in Jake Retzloff who's there, who's available. If you can get through that situation.
Can you imagine Michigan, everything that's going on with Michigan now off the field, and they pursue a guy like this?
It would be a nightmare, but I think it makes sense for their team. I think it would make sense of like, all right, let's try and see if Underwood is the dude. And if he's not the dude, we have a very capable backup behind us that will allow us to continue to still win games if he doesn't work out. Because I don't know. I don't think Bryce Underwood's going to be good. I don't. If you look back at the history of true freshman quarterbacks in the Power 5, at best, they are average to slightly below average. It's very, very rare. You have a guy who just steps up onto the field and is just incredible right away at a young age. Also, too, we are in an era of college football where the players are older than what they used to be because of the transfer portal and more veteran leadership and experience. I think it would make sense for Michigan if they can, once again, figure out all the other outside stuff to bring this guy in, maybe start him to begin the year, maybe have Underwood be under him for a season, let him develop that way, or just have him as a safety net.
Ooh, I think, and I'm with you on first-year quarterbacks playing as true freshmen, but you went out and got an OC, Chip Lindsey, who sent Drake May to the NFL. I think you let Underwood start, and you just let him work through all the growing pains, but you also have done something at Michigan where I think the defense is going to be pretty good. Secondary will be much deeper than it was last year. You added a running back from Alabama and Haynes. You added a wide receiver. You can't be any worse at quarterback. I think if you're going to make the play to get a Bryce Underwood, you let him go day one.
So this is our conversation that we had earlier about when you invest money in high school players. You've invested all this money into this guy that you feel like you have to play him now because you've got the donor dollars and you've pulled money from here and you're giving him all this money because you've made this big investment. It's almost like you're kind of alluding to it. The optics of not playing him would look very negative. And there definitely, I think, would be boosters who are like, dude, I just gave you all this money to go and get this quarterback and you're not going to play him. But from like a football perspective, I think Michigan would be much better with Jake Retzloff on their roster than him not on their roster. I think just Michigan this year is so interesting to me because of just how they made their first ever massive NIL investment. And they have a team that is returning a lot of players and they have the potential to be really good. And yet their season really relies on, did you make the right investment in NIL, which you've never really had to experience that before. I think I'd get a safety net. I'd definitely get a safety net.
That'd be scary if you added a guy on July 1 and he was your starter.
Oh my
regardless
God.
of how much experience Retzloff has.
Without
I think that'd
doubt.
be a bad look. I'm okay with them playing Underwood right away from day number one. Did you have the same hang up with Dylan?
Yeah,
because it's kind of a little bit of the similar situation. The money isn't the same.
If you can avoid it, I would avoid it. I didn't.
So you like guys that redshirt?
Yeah, well, quarterback. If you're just looking at the history of true freshman quarterbacks when they play, it's not always.
But
isn't
there clock ticking though before they ever get on campus on how long they're going to be with you? And
yes,
you have to determine sooner than later.
Yes, but I still think you can have a year in football. You can have a year. I still think you can redshirt in football for a year. Now, next year, if they don't play Underwood, he's gone.
Quarterbacks though want a redshirt. That's the other part of this.
Well, I mean, I think the Dylan situation and the Underwood situation are just very different because of they're just very different situations in my opinion.
What way?
Because Dylan, like Michigan gets guys like Underwood And
Yeah.
Michigan can regularly go and get a top dude and pay top dudes like that. Where Dylan, Nebraska, at that point, hadn't regularly gotten guys like that. So it's like, we have to play him because this is our guy and he's better than what we have and what we could potentially get. With Michigan, that's I think there's a little different. I think they could have more options to get better quarterbacks.
Well, they didn't have any options last year at quarterback.
No, they had
they
zero.
can't be worse than they were at quarterback.
Which is why I think it's an interesting comparison from Nebraska last year to Michigan this year in the respect that we said the same thing about Nebraska in terms of you can't get much worse than what you had at quarterback. But with Underwood, I think you can redshirt for a year. If you redshirt for 2 years, oh yeah, no, you're done. You're not. That guy's not going to play. But I am hung up on him, and I was, and I just think it's just it's a good roster coming back that has a lot of returnees that's done well in the portal that could be very good, and yet all of their fate is kind of just resting on the shoulders of an 18-year-old quarterback making probably too much money.
All right, a little bit later, Adrien Dao, actually top of the hour, athletic director from Omaha. Be very informative, as today is the day that you're opting in or opting out if you haven't publicly announced it. So we'll talk to Adrien coming up at the top of the hour on 1620 The Zone.
People call me Morris. Love.
Hey, what would stop the Big 12 media from doing their own poll? See that over the weekend? That
No.
The Big 12 is going to do
Say
away
nothing. It's a free country.
the media and coaches poll because of what happened with Arizona State last year.
They're going to just do their own.
No,
thing.
they're doing away with it because Arizona State was preseason 16th last year.
Okay.
Isn't that fun, though? That 16th, they win. It gives you hope.
Well, so here's the evolution of polls. Remember when they used to be just 20?
Hmm.
When did we expand to 25?
Oh, I have no clue.
Yeah, same.
It used to just be the top 20, and then it became the top 25.
I don't know.
That incredible run by Nebraska of Osborne being ranked, that was when the poll was 20.
Do you want a stupid idea?
Which is amazing. That's there was a ESPN did a story a couple of weeks ago about college football records that'll never be broken.
Yeah.
There's the Barry Sanders rushing number. I think there's Oklahoma's won 47 straight. They should have included the streak of Nebraska being ranked that Osborne had.
I saw that on Twitter, which is absolutely incredible. That and the being on, I still think the one of the greatest Tom Osborne accomplishments is being undefeated against the state of Kansas. That is absolutely wild to me that you could just never lose to two different schools in a state. Oh,
now to be fair,
Missouri envies him for that reason.
Now to be fair, there was a long stretch where KU and K-State were god-awful.
Less than ideal.
Now, towards the end of T.O.'s career, they were actually more competitive.
But to never slip up, that's the most when we're talking about dynasties and incredible runs, the fact that the sport never becomes the sport, that you're so good that the bounces, it doesn't matter if the bounces go this way or that way, that you're just so dominant that you can just plow through all of that. That is when you're on a different level.
Well, Gary, they got a good team.
This is
tough.
Oh yeah,
we'll do our best. A good week of practice.
Because even great teams are going to have games where it's just oh, okay, hey, we slipped, we fumbled the ball, they picked it up, they ran it back, they had a ton of money. It happens, right? Things just happen.
Okay,
you're that good when nothing happens. God.
Here is it's from College Football Home. They tweeted this out over the weekend. T.O. coached Nebraska for 307 games. You don't think walking out with Morgan Wallen? Oh,
no, he would. That would not.
I bet T.O. listens to Morgan Wallen.
First off, that Dylan Raiola would walk out with Morgan Wallen.
Yes.
Come hell or high water, he would find a way.
Would the new power couple in Nebraska athletics walk out together?
What?
Well, I mean, we had a breakup.
Yeah.
So Nebraska TMZ, we're going to have to find a new power couple.
Mm-hmm. He told us this Friday.
No Harburg, no Murray. So now we got to find a new power couple.
Laney Troboy.
Okay.
And Jeremiah Charles,
okay.
Right? Is that right? That's right.
I'm not up to date on my Husker dating.
I was up to date on the number one power couple, and then they broke up.
You
and I get my up to date.
I'm just want to let you know, and you know this. You are way more in tune with my generation than I am. Okay.
That's scary.
You are on TikTok.
Okay, so here is the nugget. So T.O. coached for 307 games.
Not the chicken strip.
And during that time, Nebraska played for only 3 weeks that they weren't ranked. So
at the beginning,
1977, week 2. Oh, I bet unsportsmanlike conduct was just ablaze that week. And then in 81,
that's
week
crazy.
4
that
and week
crazy.
5. So Nebraska football.
That was Lyle and Kent.
So
right?
this should be on the list of records that will not be broken. From 1981 week 6 to 2002 week 6, Nebraska was ranked.
That is wild.
21 years.
That is wild. 21 straight years of always having a number. Now, here's a funny thing too. They survived the expansion as well.
Yep.
From 1936 to 1960. Well, there was 10 teams, but they didn't go. It was only top 20 until 1989. So from 1981 to 1989, they were in the top 20 the entire time. They never fell out of that echelon. And then it expanded to top 25 in 89. And then they just obviously kept there up until, what that was also too. I think what's really impressive about that is that that's 5 seasons of Frank Solich, where they're also still ranked.
Well, Frank wasn't chopped liver.
It was Frank's fifth. It was Frank's 5th year. That's the 2002 week 6 when they weren't ranked.
It was those uniforms.
The fact that you can do that over, 2 coaches, you can continue that on for extended period of time with a different coach. It's insane. That'll never 20. Where did Alabama get to?
They were because they started in 2008. They got to be pretty close.
Let's see here. Alabama straight weeks. So in 2023, there were 248 straight weeks of being ranked. They broke. Okay, so Alabama did break the AP poll record for most weeks as a number one team.
Well,
I don't know their.
But 307 games you coached at a school, and there were only 3 times that you took the field, and your team did not have a little number next to their name
That
ranked.
is wild.
So preseason polls in the Big 12, they're getting rid of them.
I think,
but the media will still do one.
I think we should just get rid of preseason polls. If I'm being honest,
I'm with you.
I can't stand preseason polls. I think preseason polls hold way too much weight.
That is true.
In terms of even when we're judging at the end of the season, we're still taking into account what we thought teams were in week 1. Okay, I think we should go the first 4 weeks of the season, right? So you have your non-con games, and then you have one conference game, and then after seeing a month, a body of work for a month, then we decide who the best teams are.
I agree. A month into the season, then you release a poll.
Because it's not because the preseason poll, you're not really grading football. What are you grading? You're grading returning production and you're grading recruiting classes, right?
Yeah.
Hey, they have these returning guys and they had a top 25 recruiting class 2 years ago that'll be ready to go. We're going to rank them 19th. That's not football. That we don't know that your returning products are going to be better, and we don't know that your talent is going to live up to that.
There's one thing that comes into play because I'm always curious on kind of the formula that you were speaking of how you rank teams, or there are some people that rank teams by their projected finish. Like they think they'll finish number 1.
Sure.
So I'll use this example. Clemson is number 1. And people go, what? You're like, yeah. Who was it? There's a pretty prominent AP poll voter in the preseason that's his philosophy, is his first poll, he ranks them as he projects them to finish the year.
Now, I would love to talk to that person and ask them, do they take strength of schedule, like preseason strength of schedule into account, right? Because I don't know if, and this is just a hypothetical, right? I don't know if you would say that Indiana is the 8th best team in the country now, but maybe you rank them 8th because they're going to have a pretty easy schedule and it's going to be manageable for them to do that schedule and end up being ranked 8th.
Why not hold off polls? Because the AP will come out middle of August. Why not hold them until a month into the season?
TV.
Like after
TV. It's all about TV.
Why is it about TV?
Because matchups mean more when those little numbers are next to those team names when they are promoting them, right? When South Carolina plays LSU, okay, it's a
terrific
game.
Point.
But if South Carolina is ranked 12th and LSU is ranked 8th, you're going to be, oh my God, this is going to be an incredible matchup. Even if you don't know the teams all that well, you got a Tulane. You're like, oh my God, Tulane is ranked 18th. They're playing this team. I'm now more interested in watching the game because Tulane's got that little number. It's that little number just drives interest into certain teams. I mean, it's a like the difference. I've always said the difference between being 25 and 26 is massive because when you have that number, it signifies, hey, this is one of the best teams. One of the better teams in the country. When you're 26, you're just everybody else. You're good, but you're just everybody else. So I think that's why they're going to keep those preseason polls because it drives those week 1, week 2, week 3 non-con games. And
so
it gives people stuff to get upset about.
Absolutely. That as well.
Well, okay. So for example,
that drives our media.
And granted, this is a little bit around here where what has Nebraska been ranked 2 weeks under rule in 2 years? Is that right?
Right after the Rutgers game, was it just 1 week?
Maybe it was just one.
I think it was only the Illinois game, and they lost.
I don't look very much at the polls, and we don't spend a lot of time on breaking down the polls. Maybe we would if Nebraska found their way into the poll. But when it comes out in April or in the middle of August, it's good for fodder because you kind of see where people are located. Your point, I agree with that. It starts the narrative of teams get the benefit of the doubt and they hang in the poll a little bit longer.
Oh my God, it's so dumb.
But you have the Big 12 and the Big 10, which does not do a designated media or coaches poll. Is this going to be like the rotary phone?
We're going to done.
Out. No more conference preseason polls.
I hope not. Okay, so I don't like the national preseason poll. I don't like the national preseason poll, the top 25, the AP top 25, because it drives it hangs around for too long. But I don't think there's anything wrong about a media intra-conference poll, because I do think it gives you a good perspective of how do people look at you, right? How do people view your program? And I do think that's valuable to coaches, and I do think that's valuable to athletic departments. And I do think that, there's sometimes where you look at like polls, like conference polls, where you're like, meh, maybe this team shouldn't be this high, but it's Iowa State. Iowa State in the Big 12 has been consistently good, and so they have that respect. And so I think it's a good barometer. But as long as it doesn't carry weight into like week 10, I don't give a damn. The problem is it does carry weight, these preseason polls, it's just stupid that we're still talking about them when we've had 9 games.
Didn't the Big 10 kind of say, Big 12, you should have seen this coming? I don't know what the reasoning. Ever since Nebraska's been in the Big 10, they've not done like a coaches or a media poll that is sponsored by the conference.
Maybe people don't want to get their feelings hurt.
Well, the Big 10, plays nice with everybody. They like to be an all-encompassing sport league.
Yeah.
Because they do, what is it, players to watch? There's some sports where they'll do like the top 3. Like, doesn't baseball do the top 5? 17 teams play baseball, and they just put out these are the top 5.
Evan, I thought it was more than 5. I thought it was higher than top 5 for baseball. Because we always had Evan on, and Evan would come on and talk about where he's ranking Nebraska within his rankings for the Big 10.
Yeah, but that's his, though.
Right,
I'm talking like the league. The league.
Oh, I don't know. I really don't know. I couldn't tell you. But
because the football, they don't. They put players to watch in. They used to do players to watch in the East and West.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's okay.
Yeah. They don't do a media poll. It's Doug Maurice, who used to be at the Cleveland Plain Dealer for the longest time, would do a media poll, and he would have like 2 voters from every team.
Sure.
That would vote, and then they would release the results the week of the media days. The Big 10 has never done anything like that.
Just in general, we need to be more okay with getting our feelings hurt. Okay? I think a lot of the problems that have stemmed in our society have come from people don't want to hurt other people's feelings, and people don't want to get their feelings hurt. And I get that, but there are moments where it helps, okay? Where it's a benefit. Where getting your feelings hurt actually does help develop you as a human, and in this case, as an athletic department. I think it would be good for Nebraska at times, a couple of years ago maybe, to have seen, oh my God, out of 16 teams, we're ranked 13th.
I get that. Getting crapped on can be a great motivator.
It could be it's been a great, I would not be here in my life if I did not get crapped on a lot in general, because you take that
biting my tongue
and you learn from it.
Yeah.
And you go and you adjust and you're like, all right,
sometimes
maybe
you gotta
I do things differently. Nebraska getting a wake-up call being like, yeah, people think Purdue is better than you, would probably be good for them. Just not enough people are willing to get their feelings hurt anymore. I'm just saying in general.
I think you're
on a roll today. It'd be phenomenal. Just know where you're at. And if you're not happy about where you're at, then be better. Then do what you need to do to be where you want to be.
Now this year, with the Big 10 media poll, I will be very curious because it'll tell you what people think of Nebraska. Like, are they buying into the momentum and the good vibes, or are they very hesitant? Like, buying into the good vibes makes you the 6th or 7th best team. Not buying in, you're probably 9th or 10th in all these preseason polls.
I've never thought of Nebraska season in terms of the floor and ceiling of finishing in the Big 10 yet. I haven't gotten there. I've only done floor and ceiling in terms of wins. But my floor is 6. My ceiling is 9 at this point for Nebraska and their win total. I'm probably leaning a little bit more towards 7 and 5 at this point than 8 and 4. We will see. Those things can adjust as we go on. But I think that I think finishing in the top 5 in the Big 10 for Nebraska this year would be an absolute, without a doubt, success. Like, oh my God, this is going in the right direction. Like, that would be, if you were to finish top 5. Wouldn't be a hesitation. It would be incredible. I even think if you finish in the top 7 in the Big 10, you're like, hey, good year, good job.
I'd agree.
So,
all right, Adrien Dao, athletic director at Omaha. Lots of stuff. Omaha made news on Friday. Why did they make news? We'll break it down with AD coming up next on 1620 The Zone. All right, this is an interesting day in college athletics because this is the last day before things change forever. And there are opt-ins, there are opt-outs, there is confusion. Now we need some clarification, and we're about to get a lot smarter when it comes to what all is going on and also how it impacts Omaha as we welcome in the athletic director, Adrien Dao. I say thank you to your lovely wife, Stephanie, and your 3 kids because we are borrowing you on vacation from husband and dad. So thank you and good morning.
No problem. Hey, you know what? You're the vacation from the vacation. Maybe I should thank you.
All right.
You always need that.
No doubt.
Okay. So credit to you and Matt Maher. You guys have been working on this for a while because you have a big picture and then you have the Omaha picture. We're going to ask you a lot of questions and you can walk us through how it impacts Omaha athletics. But the decision that you guys came to that was announced publicly on Friday and maybe caught some people off guard that you will not be opting in for this upcoming academic year. The landscape of the settlement, the NCAA versus the House case settlement. Give us why this is the best scenario this upcoming year for Omaha.
Yeah, well, a couple of things. First of all, with the settlement, right? Every school outside of the Power 4 schools, you have a decision to make on an annual basis, right? Whether to opt in, opt out, you can switch your answer. Originally this year, the answer was due by March 15th until it wasn't. Then it was June 15th, and then it was June 30th. But, you know, the important thing, too, is on the annual basis, you have an option to revisit that decision as well. So, you know, this decision, as you can imagine, it's not made in a silo, right? There's a lot of stakeholders, university stakeholders, internal teams, consultants, external stakeholders that are part of it. And nor is this a decision made in haste whatsoever. You know, for us, and I'll speak for UNO specifically, like this is the 3-year playbook for us. We started working on this well over a year ago to start planning out the impacts of this year and also 2 years out from now. So I know it's interesting because you've seen a lot of schools reverse their decisions as of recently within the last week or 2 weeks, mostly due to the grandfather and roster options now part of the settlement. But for us, we've been pretty, we've obviously definitely monitored the landscape, monitored the parameters of the settlement. We feel really good about our decision heading up into this FY26 for us.
Adrien, I first want to give you and your department a lot of credit. You guys did a great job on your website, kind of laying out in this article why you're opting out, the reasons that went into it, you know, the different factors that the athletic department is dealing with. So I want to credit you guys for doing that because, you know, just reading it's very detailed and very informative. I do want to ask you, just kind of educate me and educate the audience. You guys are opting out, but why would a team opt in to the House settlement? And why are maybe some of those reasons not necessarily as beneficial to Omaha?
You know, what's interesting about this settlement is that every school has a very personal decision to make based on the dynamics of their institution, right? And so, you know, the reasons why UNO may opt in or opt out might be different than the majority of our peers, right? Sure. So, you know, as of recently, you've seen a lot of our peers within the Summit League, even NCHC, decide to opt in because of really a factor that Judge Wilkins decided to implement as part of the settlement, allowing schools to grandfather rosters now. So again, with this settlement, there's hard roster limits sport by sport. And one of the really, really late developments of this was the student athletes who otherwise would have had their roster spots cut can now be grandfathered until they leave the institution. So when you're talking about roster limits, especially like mid-majors and public state school U's like us, right, you've got a number of impacts. You know, if you shed roster spots, there's enrollment impacts, overall number of student athletes as well, and then also things like Title IX for sure. So, you know, for us, UNO, you know, we started this process well over a year ago, assessing and evaluating where we were, and included doing, you know, enrollment reviews, Title IX reviews, you name it. And we're in a pretty unique position relative to our peers, mostly because of our sport portfolio, the overall numbers of student athletes we have, and also our Title IX situations. That makes us unique where we didn't feel that pressure to need to opt in like a lot of peer institutions as of late because of the grandfather roster. Now, yes, if you opt in, you can do things like revenue share directly with student athletes, right? But I want to caution people to think that's exactly why every school is opting in as of late. And, I know we'll talk about this when we get through it. We just had a number of unique situations. And to be honest with you, we're in an advantageous situation for us to be in a position to opt out in year one of this. And again, this is an annual decision. We can revisit this in the future, and we will certainly position our department to have this decision to make next year as well.
So, knowing a little bit about the makeup of rosters and what currently goes on with the relationship between the athletic department and the student athlete, and looking at the opt-in, opt-out, am I crazy to think if I compare you to peers, even in the Summit League, that some have the football model, we have the hockey model, that Omaha can almost pay more to their student athletes by opting out than some of those in the Summit League that are opting in?
This is. I'm going to try really hard to not get in the weeds on this because it's really easy for us practitioners to do it. But to walk you through this, we've got a number of advantages, right? Number one, UNO is a very affordable school, right? And that's its mission of our school. We're affordable and accessible. But the benefit that gives us as an athletic department is it costs a lot less to go to UNO. So based on this and also some tuition initiatives we have at UNO, we're able to take scholarships and make it go a lot further than a lot of our peer institutions, right? So think about the Moneyball game, especially as it relates to equivalencies of scholarships. We're able to have a higher impact than a lot of our schools. 18 scholarships for hockey, for example, is not created equal school to school. Number two is, we brought that up, the current sport portfolio. You're right. We don't have football. We don't have wrestling. We don't have a number of other sports. So the impact on our overall number and consequently the impact on enrollment in our Title IX situation is unique relative to our peers. And I would also tell you, with us starting this process over a year ago, we start communicating to our coaches early. Hey, start managing your roster numbers because it's not if we opt in. At some point, we will opt in. Let's try to minimize the impact when that happens. So that's been the impact for us as well. Then number two is, when we're going through the assessment period over a year ago and evaluating where we were, we obviously did a lot of benchmarking and we realized hey, based on what we're able to offer via scholarships, cost of attendance, which we started doing for 8 revenue sports as of last year, and where we are in the NIL ecosystem, especially thanks to our great partners with the Omaha Bull Market, we are in a really competitive situation with the financial packages we're able to offer our student athletes. And then the last piece of this is, too, before you jump in, let's make sure we're maximizing the financial benefits you're able to do under the existing rules.
Mm-hmm.
So there's something called educator-related benefits. You guys might know it as Alston money. It comes from a Supreme Court case in 2001. But essentially, you're able to offer up to $5,980 per student athlete annually tied to educational benchmarks. That's something we had not taken advantage of yet at UNO. And by putting this plan together, we were able to talk to some external stakeholders and drive revenues in order to fund this opportunity that really, really puts us, in my opinion, based on doing the full amount of that, cost of attendance, the full amount of scholarships available on their existing rules, and certainly our NIL dynamic, it puts us in pretty thin air, in my opinion, relative to our peers. And what's really, really interesting about this is, with Alston money, if we were to opt in and give the same benefits that we're giving, it would count as a form of revenue sharing. But as long as you stay under that $5,980 award, it does not trigger opting in. So there's a lot of nuances like that makes this a really dynamic decision and that we'll have to make on an annual basis.
You write here that 30% of student athletes in revenue sports programs are from abroad, and a vast majority of your hockey team is from abroad. Just what has that process been like for you trying to figure out what is it going to look like paying international athletes? Because we know there's been major complexities when it comes to trying to give money to international athletes who have made an impact across the country in sport programs.
Yeah, huge piece of it. Again, that's where I kind of go institution by institution. This is a very personal decision because we're all in unique situations. But The international piece is very important to us. And as you mentioned, 30% of our revenue sports, so revenue sports for us, hockey, men's and women's basketball, volleyball, men's and women's soccer, softball, baseball, are international. I think specifically you look at our hockey program, and it's a significant higher percentage. So yes, the mechanisms and the dynamics around awarding revenue share to international student athletes certainly has questions surrounding it that we need to have answers to. Now, again, ironically, what I can tell you, whether we're talking about international student athletes or domestic student athletes, once we talk about the full amount of scholarships, cost of attendance, which is cash, right, and certainly Alston Awards, I can unequivocally tell you they do qualify for those awards under existing rules, right? So we're not talking about their visa status or anything else like that. So that provides some clarity with us as well as we made this decision. Let's maximize what you're able to do under the current rules, and let's certainly choose an option that we know is permissible and no gray area whatsoever right now. And so that definitely was part of our decision point as well.
And hockey will have a roster this year. I think 21 of the 26 are international players. Let me ask you a key point of what you guys released on Friday that I'm glad we have you on, because I was confused by this. And I'm just going to read you, and then you can respond, because I think a lot of people are wondering and looking, going, whoa, another critical unknown is whether opting into the terms of the settlement also increases UNO's legal exposure as a non-named defendant. Additionally, we want to remain mindful of how new terms of the settlement requirements regarding NIL disclosures interact with the current state of Nebraska law. Is that to mean that with the opting in, you are unsure of if you would still be in accordance with the state of Nebraska law?
Yeah, and we are not certainly unique in this situation. There's a number of state laws and obviously associated state public institutions and private institutions that, have some questions and the answer as it relates to this. But, and I'll let you read the Nebraska state law, but Nebraska, like a lot of other states, if you look at the terms of this House case settlement, especially as it relates to the disclosure of NIL deals by student athletes and institutions and the enforcement by the NCAA or other entities like that, there are some questions surrounded, right? And I wouldn't say they're concerns, but it is a little bit of a gray area that we need to get some questions answered. So that is definitely part of our decision. And then, yes, we certainly welcome the idea and implementation of this House case settlement. There's no doubt. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. I don't think anyone would say it's perfect, but it's progress, right? However, I do know that a lot of us do have questions, and we are expecting lawsuits surrounding it. And in fact, I think it was a day or 2 days after this was filed, there was a significant Title IX case that was filed against the parameters of this House case settlement. So there's going to be a lot this year of dust settling, right? We're going to see what the legal landscape looks like, not only specifically tied to the settlement, but also the dynamic and overlay with state laws. Is there any progress with federal legislation as well surrounding this? And we'll be able to make a more informed decision relative for UNO heading into the next fiscal year.
Let me ask you, I guess, a definition. I'm seeing designated student athlete tag. What does that mean?
Yeah, the really late development, right? And Judge Wilkins, and I agree with her on this, she had concerns with the roster limits and really specifically the impacts of having to cut student athletes at schools opting in to adhere to these new roster limits. So one of the late developments was allowing schools to grandfather their rosters in. And by doing this specifically, you are able to designate specific student athletes on your roster who otherwise would have put you over those roster limits to say, hey, you're tagged as a designated student athlete. If this late development didn't happen, we would have had to cut you. However, you were able to stay down. So that's certainly an impact for a lot of peer institutions that look like us that maybe have a different sport portfolio makeup, that have more concerns with impacts on enrollment in Title IX, that now, because of this late development, they're able to transition their rosters over time to meet these new roster limits tied to the House case settlement. Now, again, institution, it's a unique decision, unique situation. We don't have those type of concerns. And I do have some overall questions too relative to it, right? As you can imagine, it's not an easy conversation if you had to go to a student athlete and tell them specifically you're a designated student athlete. I especially have some questions how that's going to impact retention moving forward. I think we've all seen the data of the transfer portal and the impact on schools. I find it hard to believe that a lot of these designated student athletes aren't going to promptly enter transfer portal a year from now as well. And the situation that puts you in relative to us is right now, I can tell you specifically going into this fiscal year and consequently the next fiscal year, what our roster numbers are going to be sport by sport and dynamic between male and female. If you leave it up to designated student athletes, you're a little bit beholden to what their decisions are going to be. And like I said, I think it would be naive to think that a lot of them are going to stay in place headed into, a different year. Over time passes. I do think you'll see a lot of these designated student athletes hit the transfer portal.
Obviously, you guys did a ton of preparation heading into this process and making this decision not to opt in. But you've said it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. My question to you is, what do you and what does Omaha now do in the preparation process for eventually when you do opt in? What do you have to, in your opinion, get ready for when you do make this decision?
Oh, there's a lot, right? And again, this process started well over a year ago, right? And again, I want to be clear. We could have made the decision to opt in. We could have. We could have, right? But the reality is it wouldn't have changed one thing we were already going to do heading into this year, right? Our rosters are firm. Our financial packages have been negotiated and distributed thanks to not only what we did internally, but also great partners like the Omaha Bull Market. So logistically, there's a lot that goes into it that we were already prepared for. However, what we wanted to make sure we put ourselves in the position is if we did decide in the future to opt in, that we can do so and minimize the impacts of integrating the terms of this house case settlement. But the logistics side to it, Matt, it's a lot, right?
Yeah.
You can imagine going through revenue share outside of financial aid, the dynamics that introduces. And then we talked about a lot already with international student athletes, but think tax law, for example, think payroll. There's a lot of logistics that go into it, and the work's to work, right?
Yeah.
We're going to be prepared to do the work. There's no doubt about it. In order to, as you mentioned, it's not if we opt in. We will at some point opt in. We just want to make sure it's a seamless transition when we do. And a huge advantage we're going to have this year is learning what worked and maybe what some of the challenges were in the landscape this upcoming year. We're in a really fortunate position to be able to do that.
Let me take advantage of your knowledge, and you're a big picture guy. I know you're athletic director at Omaha, but you understand the landscape for the schools that have football. Do you think we'll ever get to a point where we take football out of the model, out of how the athletic department is built?
You know what? I would say the bigger answer to that is probably, do we evolve into the employee-employer model, right?
Ooh.
And certainly, I do think a lot of these impacts we're dealing with, even the school like us that don't have football, it's really tied to football at the highest level. So, at some point, if I thought big picture, 5 years, 10 years out, I think there's still some answers that need to come of how football still fits within the ecosystem of college athletics. And no, I would not be surprised whatsoever at some point in the future, and maybe even the near future, if football's doing its own thing. And, the questions are what other sports go along with that. Is men's basketball impacted with that as well? But that's how we're going to learn. We're going to see how this house case settlement, how these parameters work over the next few years. We're all going to get a lot smarter. And, if there's one thing about college athletics that I think all of you appreciate, I certainly do too, it's the ability to pivot in real time.
Yeah.
So we'll see what the overlay is with state law and federal legislation and how we're able to pivot with these terms and see what this dynamic looks like a few years from now.
Hey, I can't let you get away without asking you this. As somebody who started your career at the NCAA and you were around the men's and women's basketball tournament, yay or nay on the expansion to 76?
Well, I think it's coming. And we have, I tell you what, I think all of us, every AD, we've learned a lot in the past month or two, right? So I think tournament expansion is coming. I will put my feelings aside just to be real with you. Now, here's the reality. If tournament expansion happens and the access for all schools and conferences remain the same, I'm okay with it. Certainly, if the revenue distribution tied to the AQs remains the same, I'm okay with it. But get ready. There's probably going to be an expansion. There's probably going to be another Dayton site. I hope it's not too big. I hope we don't lose the magic of March Madness, which certainly is one of the most popular sporting events in all the world. But I think it's coming. So adjust accordingly, right?
Well, like you have been doing now for a while. I appreciate it, taking some time on your vacation to answer some questions and UNO's stance on this. And I appreciate it always, my friend.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for taking time. And, if I can leave you guys with anything, it's certainly our stakeholders. We've done everything we can to position these sport programs to be successful. And we are certainly comfortable with the way we're resourcing these teams to have success with the upcoming year. And like I said, every school, whether it's UNO or everybody else, probably the biggest adjustments are going to be from year 1 to year 2 of this house game stuff.
I agree. Adrien, thank you. Have a wonderful 4th.
All right. Have a good one. Thanks again, guys.
It's Adrien Dao, athletic director at Omaha.
What a sharp guy. Just a very, very smart human. I mean, the way, and I encourage anyone who wants to read about it on their website they break it all down perfectly, and he did a great job breaking that down verbally as well. I mean, just really impressive stuff. And I think, it's a great point. They have set themselves up to a spot where they don't need to opt in, and they know that a lot of people are going to make some mistakes because this is new and no one has really done this before. And I think it's a massive advantage for them to be able to not opt into this, see where people mess up, learn from other people's mistakes, and then when they do opt in, they have a better scope of what they can do and what they can't do. I think it's very smart, very smart.
I know little behind the scenes here. They have put a lot of work into this, and they've gone back and forth, and it's kind of consumed Adrien and Matt Maher, who is his right-hand man in the athletic department. It has consumed a lot of their time to get to the point that they announced it on Friday. So hopefully anybody that was a little bit worried that, everybody else is opting in, why is Omaha opting out? I hope he explained that. And he didn't go all the way there. I tried to lead him.
Sure.
Coaches will tell you in the athletic department that peer schools in their own conference, Omaha will be able to pay them more for opting out instead of opting in.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and then there's the hockey dynamic because 21 of the 26 on the roster that'll be announced here shortly are international players. And that was already set. But they're in a good spot. There's a lot of excitement around Omaha Athletics. They got gifts are up since men's basketball went to the tournament. Now we just need to get somebody to play Omaha men's basketball.
Hey, he said a second Dayton site, and you and I both looked at each other.
Omaha, Nebraska.
Why wouldn't Omaha be a great? It would be a great spot to have another play-in site.
You know where I think somebody will make? Well, it's too small. I was going to say the Pentagon.
Now
it'd
be cool.
There is
really cool.
So
put it in Baxter. That'd be cool if you put it in Baxter.
Maybe,
That'd be really cool
if
they did a play-in at Baxter.
There is hopefully an announcement later this week on Omaha's season opener for men's basketball.
Okay.
It's pretty damn juicy.
Okay.
It'll be a nationally promoted game.
Whoa.
Possibly.
Okay.
We just got to get to the finish line. All right. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. Again, Jimmy will have that up on the replay page. Share it with everybody that is wondering, what is Omaha doing?
Yeah.
The AD just explained it all. We're back with more Gary and Matt after this. All right, there is sadness in the Tom Brady world.
Why? He's not with Sydney Sweeney?
No, that 20-year gap appears to be too much. She was seen canoodling with Orlando Bloom over the weekend.
Good for Orlando. Nice.
Did he just get divorced, Jimmy?
I have
You're
no
up
clue.
on that?
I'm sure they usually all do out there.
That's actually a pretty good bet.
Famous people going to Lakers.
Say a famous Hollywood actor.
Monty Haywood was a
divorced, right?
convicted felon, isn't he?
Do you see that? Jeff Bezos is marrying Tony Gonzalez's ex-wife. You see that? That was crazy. That's just very random, like incredibly random. That's like if Steve Jobs was marrying Greg Olson's, like if Greg Olson had an ex-wife.
To the kids now, that'll be like in 20 years if Taylor Swift marries a rich person aside from her tight end that she has right now, because Tony G was a bad man.
Taylor Swift marries Carter Nelson.
The one thing I didn't like about all the coverage this weekend from the Jeff Bezos wedding and involving Sydney Sweeney, they refer to her as a swimsuit model.
She is not a swimsuit model.
She is an actress.
She is an actress.
She's very good at what she does.
Well, she's an actress.
Whoa.
Have you seen tell me a Sydney Sweeney movie that you're like, oh my God, your head's over. She's good in Euphoria. Euphoria?
Right?
Yeah. Euphoria?
Yeah.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Yeah.
Good TV show.
Is that the one with the Twitter clip?
Yeah, that's the one with Zendaya.
Ah.
She's good
Zendaya, hell of a kicker.
She's incredible in Dune.
Anyone but you.
No, that was I want to vomit thinking about that.
Glenn Powell and Sydney Sweeney were together.
Stop it. The worst thing that Glenn Powell can do is become like Matthew McConaughey back in the 2000s where all he did was rom-coms. Stop. Glenn, you're an action movie actor, right? You do action movies. Stick to the action movies.
You know what would have been good about that movie?
What?
If actually in real life they would have fallen in love after the end of that movie.
They were taking pictures together, and they looked like they were canoodling, but she was with a guy at the time, and I think it was her
Here's a
fiance.
guy.
And now she's with Orlando Bloom.
Well, they were together.
Canoodling?
Yeah, I mean,
there was three different
Industry
reports. There was 3 different reports of Tom Brady talking to 3 different gorgeous women. Can the guy just not go to a wedding and talk to people? Is Tom Brady now just anytime he talks to a woman, he's like apparently in cahoots and might be dating them?
Possibly. But if you've ever seen Tom Brady in person, he is stunning. I will just say that. He is absolutely stunning.
I was going to ask. I was going to be like, he's got to be a good-looking guy, right? Dawn Staley and how she you ever see that?
Is this a pivot here?
No. Have you ever seen look up Dawn Staley and Tom Brady?
Why?
Dawn Staley met Tom Brady.
The new New York Knicks head coach, Dawn Staley?
That was coming from there's tiers of NBA
Dawn Staley, starstruck meeting Tom Brady.
She was like, oh my God, he's such a gorgeous human. Look at those hands. That's what she said. Look at those championship hands is what she called them. She was fawning over Tom Brady. Which, by the way, how is he not, he's been divorced for a little bit now. How is that guy not been able to get
He's not in a hurry. You got to find the right fit.
By the way, if he's getting,
I think it's a little bit tough to date if you're Tom Brady.
I don't think it is.
It's like buying shoes. You got to buy the right pair.
Want. How hard is it for Tom Brady to get a woman? He is tall, he is handsome, he is rich, and he's the greatest at what he did.
But you want the right woman,
right?
You don't want just somebody that wants to be eye candy and get all the publicity.
By the way,
what if he wants to be like Aaron Rodgers and keep it secret?
Is she real?
I don't know.
It was a 30 for 30 on something.
Tom Brady, also too. If he's getting cheated on, I'm screwed. If Tom Brady's getting cheated on, if someone is doing infidelity behind that guy's back, what the hell's going to happen to me? I'm not that.
I mean, it depends on who you find.
Sure. Oh, thanks, Jimmy. That's real.
It does depend. Sim might think that I would never do that to Matt.
Somehow Tom Brady wasn't good enough, which is insane for a jiu-jitsu coach. There's that roast keeps coming back up.
Yes, it does.
It's always recirculating on Twitter. It was funny. I know that he doesn't like it. It was so good.
Did more good for his brand than Nikki Glaser.
Well, Nikki Glaser was incredible in that. Her Gronk jokes were insane in that too. My dad was rewatching it over and over and over again. I'd be walking into the family room. There was Tom Brady roast was on. But yeah.
So Kevin Hart just told Tom.
But I think it would be very difficult to date Tom Brady.
I don't think it would be difficult at all.
Well, but you got to come with all the publicity.
Yeah,
I don't think Tom Brady could date just like a 9-to-5 cubicler.
Well, I'm not saying he's
'Cause you have
dating
to
a
be used to
9-to-5
that.
cubicle.
You have to be used to that lifestyle.
He's
works
going to
at
Jeff
IKEA.
Bezos' wedding and apparently flirting with every woman on the dance floor from these reports. So obviously,
Sydney Sweeney or Tom
there was
Brady?
another one. Tom Brady. There was another.
You're going to a
model.
wedding in August?
I am
You
going
like
to a
that?
wedding. No, but none of them are single. I actually asked. I was like,
Fair.
Well,
and there was
regardless,
like, no, there's no
if
one
you
here
ever
for
see
you.
him in person,
You should ask
like-
him out.
no.
Want to go to Warhorse?
He
Should
is-
ask Tom. Tom, why don't you have a wife, Tom? It's like
He's-
back at Thanksgiving dinner.
He is.
Tom Brady's relatives are like, Tom, what's wrong? Why don't you have a lucky lady?
I know a
That
girl.
would not
She
be-
goes to our church.
That would not be my first question. My question would be, am I talking to Tom Brady from the Raiders or Tom Brady from Fox? Okay, let's have a discussion here.
Be like, can you imagine Bill's like, Jordan's got a friend. Jordan's sister. Jordan's got a sister, Tom. You can talk to her.
That'd
We can double date.
That would be quite awkward.
Can you imagine a Tom Brady, Bill Belichick double date?
The internet would explode.
I would buy that on pay-per-view.
TMZ would be. I would watch actually the TMZ 30-minute daily show on
Budweiser
that
would be
day.
all over that.
What are your specials today? What do you have on the menu?
People are saying we need Nebraska TMZ.
I'm listening.
I wouldn't mind it. I think TMZ's great. I think TMZ's fun. I think we just need more TMZs. I want to know.
There was a stretch where TMZ broke a lot of sports news. They haven't done it as much.
No, I don't know. There was that's a really good point by you, because I remember for a little bit, it always felt like when TMZ broke sports news that it was like solidified.
Mhm.
Like that was like they were a reputable source in that regard. We just need, look, I told you earlier about the whole there are too many people on Twitter and I'm learning too much about people's lives. Like I don't need to know as much about you as I do. Let's leave it to the professionals though. Like TMZ, they are professional finder outers, right? And they're professional exposers. Let's leave that work to TMZ. Let's not do this amateur social media investigation BS. I want as many TMZs as possible. Every state gets a TMZ and we just dive deep into what's going on. You have the Illinois division, the Nebraska division, the Minnesota division. They could rule the world and they're just juicy content.
All right, when we come back, if you hear any noise, it's just me and the boys bopping. We'll discuss when we return. It's Gary and Matt on 1620 The Zone. All right, last segment on a Monday. We'll be away on Friday with all of you on Independence Day weekend to celebrate America and to celebrate Joey Chestnut eating hot dogs.
No.
Yes.
No.
America will celebrate.
No.
He's back.
Stop. It's a joke.
Well, you're going to be upset when it has better ratings than the NHL Stanley Cup Finals.
I'm going to be absolutely right. I will be so pissed if a hot dog eating contest ends up getting higher ratings than Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals.
That's what it's about.
Yeah. I will
Hell
go
yes.
on a tirade, and I will absolutely scorn all of America for valuing that over the great sport of hockey, if that happens.
The hell the kids call it glizzies? Oh, yeah. All of them. All of them.
Stizzy and glizzies. Glizzy gullet. Glizzy gobbler. Is that what they call them nowadays? What's a professional hot dog eater? Like, what's the...
Joey Chestnut.
Okay.
That is what America is.
A great athlete.
America is not dipping a hot dog into a big old tub of water and then choking it down your gullet.
You think of GOATs, you got Michael, you got Joey Chestnut, and LeBron.
Absolutely not.
Because LeBron would flop the second the hot dog hits the
No,
mouth.
it's not. Joey Chestnut does not deserve to be in the conversation amongst the greatest athletes ever.
All these dumb shows debate crap. That's one right there.
No.
One of our great athletes.
God, no.
The great Joey Chestnut.
Is he?
Joey Chestnut or Jim Brown?
Stop.
That's tough, Gary.
Stop it.
Damn.
Stop it.
Although Jim Brown was such a badass, if he got in a hot dog eating contest, hey, who's beating him?
But
poll question: Joey Chestnut or Jim?
They already have one on there. Chicken tenders. Are they? Is it okay for adults to order?
Where
them?
are we at on that? Can we get an update?
So yesterday was a sad day for all of us Chief fans that are my age because it was the anniversary of the day that Joe Delaney passed away. And just a tragic, heroic moment. But I've told this before. I've even tweeted it out.
84-16.
Thank you.
Joe Delaney is the reason I became a Chiefs fan. So
That was a great story.
my dad took me to training camp at William Jewell College in Liberty, Missouri. That's where the Chiefs used to be. Then they went to Wisconsin. Then they've come back to Missouri, and they're in St. Joe.
Mm-hmm.
But we went there as I was a little kid, and Joe Delaney was not a very big running back, but he was starting to become one of my favorite players. And I went and got an autograph from Joe Delaney, and we got pictures, and he wasn't much larger than me. And so that's the guy that turned me into a Chiefs fan.
Yeah.
I was already kind of a Chiefs fan because you live in the Midwest and you live in Des Moines, and so the Chiefs are on all the time, and you see Chiefs gear, and they weren't very good.
Sure.
I mean, we've not always been blessed with the recent run that we've had in Kansas City. There were some bad teams.
You had Marv Levy, though. Before he was truly Marv Levy.
God. We had Gunther Cunningham, for God's sake. But
we had Tom Blackledge.
Things are different. But Joe Delaney turned me into a Chiefs fan.
That's awesome.
So it was yesterday was 42 years later. Dave Parker passed away yesterday.
Cobra.
The Cobra, which, nicknames, we don't
They
have a
them
plethora
like
of nicknames. We don't have many guys that make a bat that their swing look like a toothpick. Also, just a reminder to Bucco fans, during the We Are Family and Championship days, you had a great stretch from the mid-50s to the late 70s. There was a little bit of a stretch in there where it wasn't so good, but you basically in right field went from Roberto Clemente to Dave Parker. But I know quite a few people that are my age that Dave Parker did two things. First of all, he made baseball cool. That was when baseball had some swag to it.
As badass as badass got.
And the people that were covering it liked baseball. So they liked to tell the stories.
Sure.
And there was more
That's a great
access
point.
and you could tell the stories. And, you had Saturday mornings were baseball. You had the baseball bunch, you had This Week in Baseball, and then you had the NBC national doubleheader. Tony Kubic, Joe Garagiola, Bob Costas, Vin Scully, all of those.
Hi again, everybody.
But Dave Parker did two things that I hope still occurs, but I don't think it as much from the baseball side. He turned a lot of people into Pirate fans. The Pirates were not only good, but Dave Parker was cool. And then Dave Parker, of course, has the iconic moment in the 79 All-Star game, throwing out Brian Downing at home plate with his dart to Gary Carter. But he
those two
also,
were good too.
one other thing, and this happens in the NBA when it comes to shoes. Like Caitlin Clark, Nike is back, by the way. Caitlin Clark announced her new shoe.
Nice.
There will be people that will buy that shoe because of Caitlin Clark. People that I know talk about Dave Parker, and they say, I wanted his Rawlings glove because he was a specific glove that he had.
Yeah.
And so he got you to say, I want that glove. That's what baseball used to be. You followed a team because of that player, and you wanted either their bat or their glove because they used it. Man, and a month away from being able to give an epic Hall of Fame speech. Now, I know he had Parkinson's.
Yeah.
But what the Cobra was going to say, man, 19 years in the bigs, all the moments from Pittsburgh to, he had a home run game one of the 89 World Series wearing an Oakland A's uniform. That was That was a bummer yesterday, especially a month out from Cooperstown.
Definitely before my time. But I think the MLB Network did a phenomenal job of honoring Dave Parker yesterday.
Yeah.
And, the entire time, if you're watching MLB Network in the bottom right-hand corner, they had Remembering Dave Parker. And I think that when
those unis,
you get that honor, right, that kind of shows that you did more for the game than just be a good player. When it's made a point, hey, we have to let everyone know that one of our own, one of the best Pirates of all time, passed away. Dave Parker, also on the short list of one of my favorite MLB niche lists, the list of MVPs who didn't make the All-Star game. 1978, Dave Parker, his only MVP. He did not make the All-Star game that year. He had a bad May. Joins. I always love that list because I do think it's kind of dumb that we name the MLB All-Stars. Like, I mean, it's a big honor, and when we go through the Hall of Fame, we do kind of go like, how many All-Stars could you make, and what were your accolades? And yet, they're Jimmy Rollins, Chipper Jones, Kirk Gibson, Dave Parker, like Robin Yount. They all won MVPs, and the year they won MVPs, they did not make the All-Star team, which is crazy. So that's one of my favorite like niche lists. So, just incredible player, incredible legacy.
What did Clemente only won it once, right?
Yeah,
an MVP.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Clemente's got 3,000 hits on the dot, right? I think he's got, or is that Jackie? We gotta see here.
He had a lot. He was good.
You ever seen that movie?
No, he does. Yeah. So I had to think, yes. Roberto Clemente
I think
ended with exactly 3,000 base hits.
You ever seen that movie where it's about a guy who had exactly 3,000 hits and then he retired? And then they took 3 of those hits away. So then he was at 29.97. And so then he had to come back. The movie is about him coming back to get 3 hits so he can be a part of the 3,000 hit club. I have to find it.
So here's
It's one of the dumbest movies ever.
The one thing about Dave Parker, though, like once he got into his 30s, it wasn't the same. And those Pirate teams, man. I mean, Willie Stargell, they were all unique. They had characters.
Kent Tecove closing.
Baseball back in the day when baseball was cool and they had swag and it was covered the right way and football was not as big as it is today, even basketball, baseball was America's pastime, is you had characters.
Yeah.
Everybody had a story to tell.
Oh.
Dave Parker, by the way, so Clemente and Parker, the 2 greatest right fielders in the history of that franchise, both won 1 MVP. Roberto Clemente finished runner-up or in the top 5 4 times. Do you know how many times in the top 5 Dave Parker finished in the MVP voting?
3?
5.
Wow.
By the way, the movie you're looking for is Mr. 3000.
Yeah, it's with Bernie Mac.
Yeah.
Bernie Mac, rest
Cost
in
the
peace.
Cubs, the 03
Cost the
season.
Cubs, yes. Bernie Mac.
Let's hear it for the champs.
They allowed a guy that is a White Sox fan to sing the 7th inning stretch at Wrigley Field.
That's ridiculous. You don't let a sock come down.
Oh,
yeah.
When he said that, I looked at my roommate like, uh-oh.
But no, that's what was I with Clement? So now Bonds, he played left field for Pittsburgh, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's an impressive. I think the Pittsburgh Pirates. I mean, that's an impressive just legacy of outfielders.
Watch that Leland clip with him.
I will say this:
Like Pirates are back. They swept the Mets over the weekend. Scored at least 9 runs in all 3 games. People are saying the Pirates are back, and the Mets are gone. Oh, by the way, Frank the Tank.
Oh, did he flip out?
Oh
no, Frank!
Yesterday was one of his better ones.
Was it?
Yeah, because he started to sing nursery rhymes.
Did you ever see him flipping out at New Jersey Devil games? Those are better. The New Jersey Devil games, if you know, you know. Those flip outs are way better than the Mets games because he's just screaming into like nothing at a Mets game. At a Devils game, that arena, you hear everything. Everybody can hear the Tank going off on the Devils, which was great.
Just think that guy got hired, and God bless him.
He's lost so much weight.
If you follow along, he's got a weight loss journey because he was about 455 pounds, and now he's like 290.
Can still run behind him.
And he does, he walks all the time.
Yeah.
But his meltdowns are epic. I think it's great. that he has never gotten away from that.
No, he's him.
Because that's how he got hired at Barstool.
Have you ever seen him?
His meltdown with the New Jersey Transit. He was going to the Mets opening day, and New Jersey Transit was all screwed up. And so he had a meltdown that ended up on local television in New York City. That's where he got discovered, and the rest is history.
Have you ever seen his meltdown when he was grilling ribs, and he put the temperature like all the way up on high, and he was trying to grill ribs at like 1,000 degrees?
Is that when he was in his old apartment and he used to Cooking with Frank?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was one of the best videos ever. But real quick, serious point. You talk about back in the day when
he was in Omaha last year. Yeah. He hung out with Peyton Manning at the College World Series last year.
We have good rib places.
Like people were stopping him outside of the ballpark. He had a line of people that wanted to take pictures with Frank the Tank last year.
So he actually has like an incredibly impressive website, like a sports encyclopedia website that he has completely made on his own. That
did he continue to do that, or is he stopped?
I don't know if he still has it, but I remember
he said he needed like
a staff.
Yeah, didn't he need like $10 million or something? He went in front of Portnoy and
he went on Shark Tank. He went on a Barstool version of Shark Tank. They go, Frank, what do you need? He goes, well, I need at least $1 million.
Was it $1 million?
Yeah. They go, Frank, what do you mean you need $1 million? He's like, well, I need staff. I need some staff. And the guy who owns Body Armor, I don't know his name, was on the board. He goes, Frank, here's what we're going to do. We're your first sponsor. We're going to put Body Armor. We're going to sponsor your website, and then we can get more people to run it. He is so funny. I don't like that type of Barstool content other than him. He's the only one who can get away with it. There's other people who just kind of yell and scream and do a whole bunch of nothing that I'm not the biggest fans of. He is an electric factory. And then whenever Ryan Whitney gets involved with Frank the Tank, those two are the best duo. What would a conversation with you and Frank the Tank be like?
Probably very short.
I think it'd be incredible. I think you two would just bounce off of each other in terms of all the knowledge you have on sports. I would get eaten alive.
Well, my whole thing would be to get him fired up enough that he has to go to the pacifier.
You just have to say Juan Soto, and I think it'll get him going. So just go, hey, thanks for PCA. That's all you got to say.
E-Cyclopedia has not been updated in a while.
But it's still there. It still has a crap ton of information.
Yeah. I don't think it's been updated since the NFL season.
Will we ever get another guy like Ricky Henderson in the MLB, who's that electric, who talks in the third person, who has all the incredible stories?
Ricky wouldn't know because Ricky's not here.
You ought to be ashamed of yourself. Ricky would have had 30 by the All-Star break.
Damn, Cooperstown's going to be a little rough this year.
I miss our
They've
baseball.
lost some legends. I mean, Pete's not around. Ricky's not around. Cobra's not around. Just 1 month from the Hall of Fame. Yeah. At least he was able to enjoy it and knew that he was going into the Hall of Fame. Man, that shirt that he used to wear,
that's
about the boys
good.
Are bopping.
So I've never seen that before yesterday. It is awesome.
Yeah.
It is awesome. It's steezy, if you will.
Which is someone said in the chat that is a code word for weed.
No, it's not.
All right.
Steezy. You're looking steezy.
That would be the dope.
I got icky sty. That's what the hockey. You've ever when you talk to the Omaha hockey team, just be like, look at me. I'm Gary Sharp. I got icky sty. That's what. So
it's the combined words of style and ease.
It's steezy.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you say.
People that use this more often are skateboarders or snowboarders, or BMXers.
Yeah, it's steezy.
I know. Is that what you do?
I don't know. I do. I am the opposite of a skateboard.
So when someone lands a trick and it's clean, you call it steezy.
It's steezy. Exactly.
I didn't watch the X Games this weekend. Do you think they use the word steezy over and over?
Oh my God. Those X Games announcers are awesome. They are just screaming a bunch of random words and pronouns and syllables.
Pronouns. I love it.
I mean, that's
great.
It is a lot of pronouns.
Damn, you cooked today. A
lot of pronouns. I'm just like, oh my God, he did the Tuck 3000 dinosaur T-Rex flip. We haven't seen that in forever, bro.
We call this McMonday.
I know.
All right. We'll be back with you tomorrow at 6. Talk about a Claude joining Nebraska. We'll do that tomorrow. Crossovers coming up next.